Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. It is time. It is time to embark on a Black Channel tradition. My voice is not doing the greatest for about the last week here, but I cannot refuse to make an appearance because this is our culture. This is our culture. There's been a lot of talk about that. There has been a lot of talk about that because people are using old paradigms. They are using old standards. They are using old definitions, and things have to evolve and adapt over time because the world changes, the landscape changes, your interests don't, but the environment changes. We have a culture of resistance. If no one explained to you who and what we are, the descendants of the American slaves, the freedmen, the foundation, we go by a number of different labels that all equate to the same thing for a reason. And when they ask about your culture, when you talk to me, I am going to very quickly appraise you that we have a culture of resistance. That is at the foundation of who and what we are. When you take a look at literally everything that has happened that has crushed other people, and yet not only did it not crush us, we have risen to be the trendsetter and the leader that has set the example that the entire world has gathered around. That is our culture. We take a look at things, and when we see injustice, when we see encumberment, when we see those things, we have a culture of resisting it. This is different from other people. This is different from other people because you see, other people, that is not what motivates them. Other people are motivated by greed, motivated by assimilation, motivated by fear. Those are the things that motivate them. But those are not the things that motivate us. You see, we are a people, and our culture is a refutation of convention. We're not satisfied with seeing something just the way it is. We are motivated by seeing everything it could be. And once you start down the road of telling us, no, we can't motivate it and cultivate it into everything it can be, that's when our culture is going to kick in. We have a culture of originality. We have a culture of originality. We don't just do things for the sake of doing it. We demand to bring something new. There are other people, and what they do is an alliteration on things. We deliberately, consciously look at what we see in front of us, and after a while we say, yeah, we want to do something different. No, there's nothing wrong with what you see in front of you. Hell, most of it we already made. What? But you see, we are a people who resist stagnation. So you see, also at the heart of who and what we are, we have a culture of resistance, but we also have a culture of innovation. Did you get that? We have a culture of resistance, but we also have a culture of innovation. We fundamentally resist stagnation. While other groups brag about the fact that they have remained the same for dozens or hundreds or even thousands of years, We are fundamentally a different type of people. We are an innovative people. We are always looking toward and for the next thing. This is how we defined and created the world's music. Man, at his core, resists stagnation, but cultures and societies that wish to control man embrace it. Our culture has remained consistent at resisting that. So we are an innovative people in style, in dress, in thought, in expression. We are the only people who have made lingo and then continue doing it, continue making it. Not because we have to, because we created all the lingo. Everyone else would be content to rest on their laurels, not us. Because it is in our culture to continue doing so. So everything continues moving while other people attempt to hold on to it, to try to freeze the world in place. We have shown them that there are other things, bigger and better places to go. The full expression of mankind. This is our culture. Stick around us long enough, there will be new colors, new styles, new fabrics, new looks. There will be. That is intrinsic in who and what we are. Once again, while other people attempt to hold on to things for hundreds or thousands of years, we have a culture of investigating everything. We've never told you that we're done. We have never tried to hold you back, and we have never tried to limit you. So you see, we found things that other people could not find because we have a culture that explores things that other people won't. We don't explore it for the purposes of controlling it. We explore it for the purposes of expressing it. This is where many of these other cultures, particularly the European culture, failed. They explored for the purposes of control. When they encountered us and found that you could explore without trying to dominate, destroy, or control. This is a foreign concept. They don't understand this. How does that work? Why would you want to do that? That's where the break came from. So you see, we have a culture of resistance. We have a culture of innovation. This is radically different from everyone else. Even when they hand us what they got, we are going to immediately go to work transforming it. When they hand us whatever it is they got, we are going to immediately go to work transforming it. Let me give you all a reminder, a brief history lesson of music, because our music has literally transformed the world, something that they did not think was possible. Our music became the soundtrack of resistance and innovation around the world. Whenever people have been confronted with injustice, they come back to the source, the foundation, if you will, because they have seen us tap into the purity of resistance. So they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They know exactly how it's done because we taught them. When you take a look at music, because if all you do is go back to the European, if that's as far back as you go, well, then you've got a very staid, very stymied, very locked in its ways form of music. Because you see, their music comes with a lot of rules. That's the first thing. Those of us who were taught as music students here in America, the first thing they teach you is that these are the rules. and that you must adhere to the rules. And that if you are not adhering to the rules, at best, what you have made is not acceptable music, and at worst, it's not music at all. So the first thing you get taught in music class, and all of us who have been in music class learn the same thing. First thing you get taught is there's rules. There's rules for timing. There's rules for beats. There's rules for melody. There are rules. Case in point, 3-count timing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It gets beaten into your head, sometimes literally. What? Well, if a song has 3-count timing, well, that's a waltz. Now, who is it who made the rule that if a song has 3-second timing, that's a waltz and nothing else? If you even suggested to your music teacher that the timing was 3 beats, if you suggested to them that this is your song, they would tell you you're wrong. They would tell you you're wrong because 3 seconds is a waltz. So you can call it, you'd have to change it to something else. Sometimes they make you do it 6 beats. But, oh no, you can't say 3 because if it's 3 seconds, only a waltz can be 3 counts. That's it. Only a waltz. Who made that rule? Who in the firmament of man and math said, oh, 3 seconds, that is reserved and dominated. This can only be a waltz. That 3 seconds adds up to waltz? Please tell me what of the foundations of the earth and the sky and heavens above dictated that? What fundamental law of the universe dictates what a waltz is? That 3 seconds, oh, that's a waltz. Why, it's another culture. It is not math that says that. It's certainly not music that says that. It is these people over here who are literally telling you that their culture now defines 3 seconds. If you can count to 3 in music, that is the sole property of specifically these people over here. And that any suggestion that it does not will immediately get you kicked out of class. So when you send your children, the kids, to music class, the teacher is going to tell them what I just told you. And do you understand what's really being impressed on them? When you do that, music doesn't have conventional rules. Not like that, it doesn't. But then you get immediately beaten and bludgeoned with rules. The next rule that you learn from European music is that there must be dominance. Now, this is the next thing that, for those of you who don't know about music or haven't been in music class, I want you to understand that this is what you really come away with. There must be dominance. There needs to be a dominant instrument, which is ironic since music is supposed to also be based on harmony. And harmony at its root means things working in concert together with each other without interfering or harming each other. Well, they're supposed to work in harmony. But that's not what you get taught. You see, if you're in a choir, you didn't think about that. If you're in a choir, what do you think they call the soloist? If you're in a choir, what do you think they call a soloist? In the chat rooms, y'all are jumping ahead, but in reality, you got it, but you don't got it. When you talk about percussions and bass, you got it, but you don't got it. Hang tight for a minute. We'll get you straight. We'll get you straight. Go to the bass. The most basic musical instrument, and this is what we call it in music, is a musical instrument is the human voice. But if you're in a choir, one of the first things you get taught is that, well, the rest of you can't sing as loud as the soloist. So right there, the soloist has to have dominance. That's the next thing you get taught. Dominance. This spilled over into recorded music. Once we started having recorded music, you start having to layer the instruments, including the human voice, in different frequencies, so the frequencies do not interfere with each other. Okay, that's fine, that's basic, that's good. But then it goes further. Because you see, in recorded music, one of the rules that got made was that the loudest instrument, if you will, had to be the vocalist. The vocalist has to be the loudest instrument. So in the days of the big bands in jazz in the 1920s and whatnot, well, the horns would usually be the loudest thing. Horns would usually be the loudest, since they would be the quote most prominent. And what I'm saying is that eventually becomes convention. When you start to play the instruments, the horns are going to be the loudest because, well, that's the way we've always done it. Not because that's truly what your soul is trying to say with this song. You make the horns the loudest thing because, well, that's what we've always done. We've always done that. And if you don't roll with the way they've always done it, well, you're out of touch. So the reason that they give you for the rule existing is, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, when we come along, you know they ain't gonna fly. So you see, we started changing things. So we were the ones who created jazz, and the dominant society said the horns are the most prominent. But then when we switched over to blues and rock and roll, shout out Ike Turner, rest in power. Let me go ahead and touch on that for a few moments here. As you all know, Ike Turner is credited with creating what you call rock and roll. For those of you who didn't know, Ike Turner was a very smart man. Ike Turner was not the typical individual. Ike Turner was a smart man. You see, there's a reason why the dominant society wanted to make sure that they demonized Ike Turner. I need y'all to understand that. A lot of folks out here don't understand why it is that they hated that man like that. He's not the only one. He's not the only one. I need y'all to know something for those of you who don't remember. Ike Turner trademarked the name Tina Turner. What?
Oh my God, bro. Oh,
hell. But it's true. Don't believe me? Go Google it right now. You can go Google it right this moment. Ike Turner created Tina Turner. That was his idea. And then he trademarked Tina Turner. Oh, they didn't tell you this. Oh, the dominant society that spent the 50s and 60s screwing black folk in music over nothing but a bunch of horror stories and a bunch of tragedy stories. And a bunch of y'all didn't understand it. Yeah, her birth name was Anna Bullock, but Tina Turner, where'd that come from? Oh, Ike made that. Ike made it and then trademarked it. He was in the business of music and he felt like he was going to find somebody to put that name on and that he was going to take that person to international success, and that's exactly what he did. No wonder they spent all of their time. No wonder they spent all of their time trying to demonize him and saying all kinds of evil things about him. No wonder they did that, because they wanted you to totally ignore Ike Turner, ignore everything about him, to put a mental block in your head so that you would, on your own, voluntarily refuse to even think about him. Ain't that something? Oh, is that a conclusion you came to on your own, or is that something that this society drilled into you? Oh, he's a woman beater. Oh, he was cheating her out of her money. Oh, he doesn't want her to use the name. And then we roll it backwards. Wait a minute. This is the guy who created rock and roll. So what they did was they assassinated the image and the character of the man who created rock and roll. And so you mentally and emotionally went looking for somebody else. You put up a mental block in your head that said, we can't claim Ike Turner or anything about him. And the dominant society said, yeah, that's it right there. Right there. That's right. Walk away from it. Give that up. You don't want nothing to do with that. And the next thing you know, they step back in. They step back in, and now they run it. Now they're telling you, meet Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Aaron Presley. Because you see, they told you that Ike Turner was unacceptable. And most of you, because of movies that you've seen made by who exactly? Who made those movies? Movies made by people that you've seen on HBO or wherever. And they were there to tell you who the creator of rock and roll was. And that you need to roll with that. That's what you need to roll with. That right there. And then a couple of decades later, by the way, then they moved on to Michael Jackson. Every time we made these things, I want y'all to understand that we came with the innovation, and if we weren't going to be their field niggas, then they went straight to work to say, okay, since you ain't going to get with the program, we will see if we can destroy the value of what you've made. Because most people will not question the media. If we tell them it's true, they'll just go with it. So most of them ain't going to question it anyway. Most of them are not going to question it anyway. So when we tell this lie or this smear, your people will begin to divorce themselves from it and won't even actually realize why they're doing it. Ike Turner, Chuck Berry, They listened to the conventional music and they took it in a different direction. Something these other folk hadn't done. You see, today you're taught about the value of first mover advantage. In Silicon Valley and technology, they're constantly drilling in your head about the value of first mover advantage. And yet, when we are the first movers in the culture and they actively discourage that and punish that with us, they want us to develop something new, and then as soon as we develop something new, they go straight to work to assassinate you and destroy you, and then they step in and take it over. And next thing you know, they're telling you that they created it. So when you go into music, we changed it. We said horns don't have to be the lead instrument anymore. Now the guitar is the lead instrument. This was totally new. This was totally new to them. See, we taught them how to play loud, and that's all they got from it was playing loud. They didn't understand that we are not playing music. We are feeling music. When Allie Wilson told Maurice White for the song September that Maurice, that ba-dee-ya, which is the chorus of the song, that ba-dee-ya, it doesn't mean anything. You need to change that. And Maurice told her, Allie, you never let the lyrics get in the way of the groove. You never let the lyrics get in the way of the groove. Allie Wilson didn't understand this. Because you see, when you come from a society of rigid structures and rules meant to control your mind, you don't realize that music isn't just to be listened to. Listening is the conduit through which music touches the brain and the mind, but music is meant to be felt, that your ears can actually feel something. This was brand new. This society didn't understand that. They've been trying to figure out what the rule is. You can't put a fixed, rigid rule on feeling. And they've been trying to figure out how to control it so they can package it, monetize it, and dominate. The end goal is dominance. And this feeling thing gets in the way of being able to dominate it. Feeling tends to evade domination. And we taught the world to feel music. Then you go forward and you have the synthesizers. And then when the world thought it had heard everything, introduces rap and hip hop. And next thing you know, an instrument that had been greatly disregarded, the drums, that had been greatly disregarded. And when we came along, when rap came along, the world thought it had seen everything. And then we said, no. We're still innovating. And now it's about percussion. Now it's about percussion. So when we went into the studio, we were saying that we're going to do something different. They didn't know what it was. So you see, our music of resistance was rap music. It became resistance. So next we started with percussion. And from there, you came to bass drums. Well, they had never seen that before. They didn't see that before. They figured that what else can you do there? I'm bringing these instruments up because these became the lead instruments. Well, they didn't have an idea in their heads. What do you mean? See, what happened, and Chuck D talked about this. I've told y'all about this decades ago, that Chuck D talked about that when they were mixing the albums, they turned the bass up. And the engineers told them, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You see what the problem is? Do you see what the issue is? By the way, I know it's Thanksgiving, so hopefully you all will be able to make a generous donation to the Slim Fast Fund for my mod.
Damn! What? Damn!
Yeah, she's a little slow tonight because she's been parked at the table. I understand. It's just she been doing the pork chop push-up for the past 3-4 hours, so she's a little slow on it tonight, so you'll all have to forgive her for it there. It's just, you know how it is. She been doing them Krispy Kreme crunches. So, you know, she's lethargic as hell. Moving that mouse is hell tonight. It really, really is, but yeah, you know how it is. It's Thanksgiving and she got a pork chop. She got a big ass drumstick in one hand and some cornbread in the other, and she's trying to work the keyboard with her toes. So it's rough on her tonight, but she's going to try to hang in there with it. So we're very, very thankful. She's messing up all over the place, but she going to try to hang in. Yeah, it's big back, big knees, big feet. So she's supposed to be watching the chat room. Every time I turn around, though, she's at the refrigerator. So that's the issue I'm having is she's supposed to be watching the chat room. And I keep saying, hey, did you see this over here? So she keeps getting up to go back to the refrigerator. I'm like, damn, you didn't have a whole day. You know, if you sit and watch the screen, it's time for you to throw both hands up and back away from the fridge. But in any case, like a 3 liter of Diet Coke, how many pounds do you think you're going to dodge with that? In any case, so by the time we get to Chuck D, they have a whole new expression in the music business, and particularly the music engineering business in mixing songs. This violated every rule that you were taught. This violates every rule that you were taught. Anybody who's been to music engineering school, when the brothers come along in the 80s, this violates everything. You can't do that with bass. Why not? Because the bass and the percussion will be louder than the vocals. Well, you see, rap music had us geared up for resistance. So you see, when you go into war, historically, the drums have been what beat the drums to go to war. There was no war guitar. There were war drums. And so they wanted to thump the drums because drums do something to people when it comes to being assertive and aggressive and resistant. Something that guitars and horns don't do. So they don't need to just hear drums. They need to feel them. But if the vocals are louder than the drums, they didn't understand the drums need to be the most preeminent thing in this song. I don't want you to hear the drums. I want you to feel them. Now we come into the era of technological development. Oh, y'all ain't ready for this? Now we come into the era of technological development. So it wasn't enough to just have drums anymore. Now you need to feel them, but the electronics and instruments that they had, that wasn't doing it. It wasn't doing it. So now you had to make new things. In people's cars, they had to have new speakers, amplifiers. Now come subwoofers. Things that were in studios, and yet they didn't have them in cars when that became the method of folk getting around. Now it became a priority. Now it became a priority. Now that was the difference. That was the difference. Do you see how our artistic vision pushed people ahead? Do you see that? We were the ones who had the artistic vision. We had the artistic insight. We changed things. That was the difference. Do you see how that changed things? We're the reason that they had amps for guitars. They thought it was done. Next thing you know, we bring it over to the bass, and it's changed everything. Our artistic vision of what you could do with percussion, what you could do with bass, that you could combine bass and percussion. The same way that we did with slap bass when we innovated and created that. We changed the way the world thought about these things. All they saw was a guitar, and they just tried to be the best at what they saw everyone else do with it. All they saw was a guitar, and all they thought about was the best that they could do with it. Well, whatever somebody else has done, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. That's the issue. They told you that these were hard rules. And I just explained to you all tonight your historical documentation that we have always defied the rules. We have been fearless in our investigation of where these things could go and what they could do, and we're continuing to do it to this day. This is a matter of thought. This is a matter of thought and a vision. That's a whole different thing right there. This is a matter of thought and a vision. That's the difference. Now, don't expect the dominant society to point this out to you. Another resistance, people, you're supposed to be able to sing in rigid structure, that rigidness and control and dominance. That's the issue right there. That is the issue right there. When it comes to singing, you were taught that you have to sing in a very rigid way. It has to be counted. It has to be on the beats. And then we came along and taught them something that we called souling. People, you're literally telling them what it is. I'm not singing from your music. I'm not singing from your metronome. I'm not singing from your stopwatch or your counting or your clock. I'm singing from the soul. So you see, when we started doing that, we started singing what felt right to us, not what conformed with the chronological timing of the song. We started singing what we felt. And if I feel like I need to hold this note for 2 or 3 seconds, I'm going to do that. And if I feel like I want to alliterate, look it up. If I feel like I want to flutter this note up and down, I'm going to do that. And if I feel like I want to squeal it, I'm going to do that. And if I feel like I want to drop it, I'm going to do that. I am going to sing. If I may change the notes. We might not stay within that standard 3-note process. I might change the notes. And they were like, you can't do that. Because they were afraid and they were saying, oh, this is going to make it sound terrible. It'll be chaos. And that's not reality talking, that's fear. Because you have been colonized in your culture and we resisted that. And because we resisted that, we innovated that. Now, everybody does it with varying degrees of success, but now everybody tries to do it. The human voice has been around since Homo sapiens, I would say, became bipedal, but it probably was around before then. So why is it nobody did it before us? Why is it no one did it before us? By the way, one more thing, go to the African continent. It doesn't happen till we get here. Obviously, there's a very different perspective that created that. Something very unique created this. It was not slavery. It was the people who have a culture of resistance. Folks around the world been enslaved and still enslaved today. None of them did what we did. Folks around the world were enslaved throughout history, still enslaved today, and yet this wasn't the result. We've been souling since the plantations. Other folks been enslaved in the Caribbean and other places. They ain't souling. The old 100s came from the plantations in North America, not in the Caribbean, not in Central America, not in South America, not in Africa. It came from a very specific geographical place and a very specific people within that geographical place, period, point blank, end of discussion. If slavery is what creates that kind of creativity, please tell me why none of the others from any of these other places, tell me why that didn't turn out for any of them like that. If putting folks in chains is what creates such creativity, if that's what does it. Okay, I'm stretching those brains for a minute. There's some folks, the little white supremacists on your shoulders going to, you didn't really make that. I mean, that's really a product of America. Okay, if it is, then you should be able to very quickly and easily answer that question then. Oh, okay. That shut that down. That shut that down. All right. Now that we have fact checked it and it holds firm, you see, I want to introduce you to something else. I want to suggest to you all that the reason why they wanted vocals to be the loudest things in music is because they want that to be the programming. that words are universal. Music melody may not be, but words are universal. So if we want to specifically give you a specific thought, we need to hijack the lyrics. We need to hijack the words and make sure that that's the most prominent thing in the song. We got to hijack that. This is why they introduced and created backward masking. Playing stuff backwards in songs because, and I've never really bought into this, but just the idea that you would try this is sinister and diabolical enough. I don't believe that backward masking works. There's no proof that it actually does. Don't believe anybody who tells you, well, it was a study that, there's really not a bunch of proof of that. A lot of people jump to a bunch of assumptions. However, the fact that you actually want it to work. Now, there's the problem I got. I don't care if it works or if it doesn't. The fact you want that to work. The fact you thought of this and you want it to work. Now, that's the problem. Whether it works or not. So they wanted the words to be the most prominent thing because they want that to stick, because their goal is to program you. They had no idea that we could use just the music and the melody itself and we can send a message. Now that was new. But you see, they would have known that had they listened to jazz. They would have already realized we already perfected this art form. This is not a science, it's an art. It's not a science, it's an art. And that's the reason why your attempts to copy what we've done have just been weak and diluted and flimsy, because this is not a science, it's an art. Oh, man. They weren't ready for that. And then when we combined it all, the innovation of language, of jargon. See, they call it jargon. But you see, we've been speaking jargon since the plantations. We've been speaking jargon since before the plantations. We have had a culture of speaking roundabout. We've always had that. So you see, when it comes to the 20th and 21st century, when it was time for us to merge all this together in our hands, it's potent. It's super potent in our hands because we were already formidable with all of the individual elements. The voice, the horns, the drums, the timing. We were already formidable with that. The alliteration, the souling. We were formidable with just those elements by themselves. Now we're going to put them all together. Society said, damn, they've made a weapon. They've made a weapon. And we put that together in a culture of resistance. I just walk you through just that one. And that is the reason why when we see other people just imitating and copying us, we start drifting away quickly, not slowly, quickly. See, we want to be where the power is at its highest. Power is not at its highest when all the groupies start showing up. Power is at its highest when you have a small group of people very disciplined. They can keep this thing finely honed, sharply tuned. That's where the power is its greatest. And we're constantly searching and sifting for the new sources, which is why the society has a policy of making sure that we specifically are held back. Could you all imagine what we would have done if we had the resources of an Elon Musk or a Peter Thiel or a Larry Ellison? Well, they know what we would do, which is why they have concentrated every effort toward making sure that simply does not occur. If this is what we did with no resources at all, could you imagine what we could do if we had proper resources? if we were fully funded, could you imagine what would come out of that? They would no longer be able to take their white corporations picking and choosing the next coon artist, the next coon show, if we were properly, or the next kissing ass nigga who will just back their agenda. Oh man, if we were properly funded, what would you have then? They already know. Which is why everything they have done has been combined and focused towards preventing that. They already know. And that brings us to the next thing of ideology. You see, when it comes to ideological thought, it is our job to keep resisting and innovating. You've had people who have attempted to mislead you. You've had people who have attempted to mislead you. You see, in the dominant society, when something is working, they hold on to it. When it is not, they move on quickly. The bottom line is that it has to serve the people and the purpose. If it does not serve the people and the purpose, then it gets discarded. Even their own history. If their own history does not empower white supremacy, then they will discard their own history. You see, when folks come up telling you about you need to learn your history, you need to know your history, by the way, the dominant society will rip whole chapters out of the history book if it does not empower them. Now, you know that's true. They will rip entire chapters out if it doesn't empower them. And they are constantly looking for new sources of something that may not empower them. And that's the first thing they will get rid of. If you are not empowering the system, you got to go. Ideology can be a helpful thing. Ideology can be a good thing, but you should never get married to an ideology. Ideologies can serve you, but if you're in a system where you have hostiles, they are looking for ways to defeat you. Ideology is a strategy. If your ideology, however, can be outmaneuvered, then it's been neutralized. Hell, they can even use it against you. So it's essential that you not fall into a state where your ideology can be neutralized and used against you. Which is why you have to constantly go back and refresh and fact check these things to make sure that it is serving its purpose. Ideology needs to serve a purpose. Have you gone back periodically to confirm that the ideology is still serving the purpose, or is the ideology now obsolete? There's been a lot of talk now in the last week since I did my program about Professor Small, and we won't really dwell on that. But a lot of people are asking themselves new questions. They're asking themselves new questions when it comes to the subject of ideology. They're asking new questions now, and rightfully so. They're asking themselves new questions, and rightfully so. How do you know if what you're saying is serving the purpose, if what you're saying has not been checked to see if it's serving it or not? You see, ideology cannot and should not become a religion. Ideology is a strategy, but it cannot and should not become a religion. You'll continue following it even if it's no longer serving you. And this is where we come to today. You see, once we changed our goal from integration to empowerment, we started focusing on different ideologies. Do you see how that changed? The ideology is no longer about integrating pleasing, appeasing, turning the other cheek. You notice that those things have changed. Ideology is something you develop after you have a purpose and a goal. Our purpose and our goal changed. Next thing you know, the ideology started changing too, in service of the goal. That's how you got here. In service of the goal. Well, that was new. That was new to them. That this would serve the goal. Once again, a foreign concept. But we have to understand that there are a lot of folks around us that this is a foreign concept to them. They become married to the idea that we're going to just do things one way. It is imperative that we make it clear that that will not be the case. When people think that you are stagnant and predictable, they're going to take advantage of that, especially if you are. But you see, we have disregarded old things. Well, this is as I said before, this is a shock to people. It is a shock to people because they have been counting on us to do things one way. They've been counting on it. They've been counting on us to do things one way, to keep doing it just that one way, and then they can just outmaneuver us. They never imagined that we would change things on our own terms. But that is the culture of resistance. That is the culture of innovation speaking. And that scares people, especially when they've gotten used to dominating you. That scares people. When they've gotten used to dominating you, that is not at all what they were hoping for. What they were hoping for was that you continue doing things the way you've been doing it. They're not accustomed to you changing up in your own interests. They're not accustomed to that. They were counting on you to continue doing things exactly the same way. So you see, when obsolete ideals crept their way in, we disregarded those too. You see, the goal has always been the same. But if you were under a misnomer, you see, they told you before that the goal was freedom and liberation. Do not get me wrong. Freedom and liberation are both essential and admirable things. But what good is freedom? How can you be free if you are not empowered? How can you truly be free if you are not empowered? See, that's the missing element. This idea that you can be poor and free. You can be broke and destitute and free. See, that was something they drilled into your heads before to get you to not want to be empowered and free. See, you are free, quote unquote free, to walk the streets of Manhattan. But if you're not empowered, where the hell are you going? Do you see how that works? You can be free, but if you're not empowered, where are you going? Well, now that you understand that the purpose is empowerment, you now start to realize that there are people out there who have made it their job and their goal to deny you being empowered, to stop you from being empowered. Well, if you have people who are now an obstacle to your empowerment, you got to deal with that too, don't you? You got to deal with that too, don't you? So tonight, I'm opening up the lines here. And I want you all to go ahead and give me a call and give me your ideas here, or your thoughts if you choose. As we've made the pivot away from the purpose, not necessarily from the ideal, but from the purpose of Pan-Africanism as a ideal. I'm sure it has some value, but as far as our purpose today, we moved away from that, and a lot of folks are uncomfortable with the idea of being able to do that. A culture of resistance is at the foundation of who and what we are, and that is the reason that you all are here tonight. You all are here tonight because you are devotees of the culture of resistance. You are here tonight because your very presence, without you saying a word, is sending a message. Did you get that? Your very presence here tonight, without you speaking a word, you're trying to send a message simply by being here. You are sending a message to your parents. You're sending a message to your family. You're sending a message to your friends. You're sending a message to your job. You're sending a message to your childhood teachers. You're sending a message to everybody. You are here because there's a message you're trying to send. That's the point. You're here because there's a message you want to send. And the message you're trying to send is a message of resistance, a message of innovation. You're looking for a place that other folks ain't. It would be very, very easy for you to spend time today with quote unquote the family and friends or whatever. But you see, that would not be you fulfilling your purpose. So you have a personal culture of resistance that you are adhering to. And that is what brought you here tonight. You're here tonight. Many of you, you're by yourselves. And that's good. You know why? Because that tells you, you know who and what you really are when you're by yourself. You would not be here tonight if this wasn't really what you wanted to be and where you wanted to be. You're by yourself. Nobody's watching you. Nobody knows what you're doing except Google and the government. You're here because this is where you truly want to be. No faking it, no lying, no nothing. This is where you want to be. This is you fulfilling your purpose. With other folks who tried to convince you that you can't do that. But this is you actually fulfilling your purpose. That's the difference. We do this every year because this is a reminder for you for that. In the chat room, Beige Lives Matter. Let's go ahead and get him up here. He's got 2 minutes to be on Zoom. If he's not on 2 minutes on Zoom in 2 minutes, you can go ahead and let him on out of here. But by the way, I'm so glad that you have made it a note to do that. So you got 2 minutes to go ahead and be on Zoom, and you can educate everybody here. That'll be very nice. Need you all to understand something here. Fear grips people. Fear grips them. There are a lot of folks who made money, made headway, got a certain reaction out of the dominant society by selling these old ideas. Do y'all get that? A lot of folks out here made a lot of headway selling old ideas that the dominant society eventually saw was no real threat. Case in point. Let me go ahead and show you here. Case in point. I was going to talk about this over the weekend, but we'll go ahead and touch upon this now. If you are following me on Twitter, you want to go ahead, if you're not following me on Twitter, what the hell are you doing? But I posted about this. See, the dominant society loves to throw up this stuff right here. They love doing this. Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro and supporters of the Crown Act. Every time you turn around, there's some Crown Act thing. It's designed to prevent hair discrimination in the workplace. Okay, are you going to start putting people in jail? Are you going to start punishing them for it? Or are you just going to tell them, naughty, naughty, you shouldn't do that? What is the penalty for violating the, quote, Crown Act? What's the penalty? And furthermore, once again, this is just more window dressing to try to change the subject, to say, oh, I did something specifically for black people. See. I did something specifically for you, so that we don't have a conversation about the stuff we really talked about. Wow, okay. We don't have a conversation about the stuff we're really talking about. The major issues we really brought. You see, when you got reparations, when you have empowerment, you don't have to worry about the workplace. You control the workplace. Hell, you don't have to worry about the schools. You control the schools. See, when you are empowered, you make the rules. They want to focus on everything except that which will empower you to make the rules. So then they start throwing you token things like this. Hey, didn't you Negroes? Hey, you can wear your hair however you want to. Okay, but if you are destitute and broke, does it matter what your hairstyle is? That's the difference. If you're destitute and broke, does it matter what the hairstyle is? So they want you to think that they're addressing your issues. If that issue does not have a dollar sign in front of it, they're trying to avoid the issue. We can do our hair at home. If you are not empowered to create your own workplace, create your own schools, they want you to keep working by the rules of discrimination in their workplace and in their schools. Do you understand that they're trying to do whatever it takes to make you happy to come back to work for them? To make you happy where they are. Now, I need to say this next part because it is true. Y'all need to understand that Afrocentrism and Pan-Africanism, they put a very high premium on this kind of stuff. Afrocentrism and Pan-Africanism, as you all know, they put an extremely high premium on symbolism, symbology. What do you think the old debates were about? They go around talking about semantics. Their thing is, I want to wear what I want to wear and have my hair how I want to wear my hair. They put a very high premium on hairstyles and what you wear and self-expression, an extremely high premium. So to them, oh, this is a major milestone. For them, this constitutes not progress. This constitutes real progress. So these symbolic gestures, these very visual things, this is very, very important to them. Concrete things that have a real effect on the real world that you can't necessarily see. Pan-Africanism doesn't really get excited or motivated about that. That doesn't motivate them. Symbolism that gets in front of cameras and everything. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Can you see me? See my hair, see how I dress, see my shoes. See me, see my title. See my degree, see my title, see my hair. See me, see. And that's what they prioritize, being seen. Anything that allows them to be seen. Folks, that's what you do when you don't have a plan. Afrocentrism and Pan-Africanism put incredibly high premiums on that. That was what they valued. And when the dominant society realized that that's not a threat to white supremacy, see, here's what the white supremacists at the top have been trying to beat into the heads of the white supremacists of the rank and file. Symbolism is not a threat. Annoyances are not a threat. They've been trying to get the rank and file to understand that annoyances are not a threat. Symbolic gestures are not a threat. Power, wealth, and influence are a threat. Annoyances are not a threat. Bushika wearing her hair however she wants to when she comes to work isn't a threat to the fact that she has to come to work. And that's why we jumped off the train of that, because it's like, okay, yeah, damn symbolism. Damn symbolism. We want empowerment. Well, this was new. So your first sign that this is not really effective is take a look at the politicians running to sign these bills. Take a look at the politicians running to sign these bills, people. Folks, do you realize that Texas created a Crown Act 2 years ago?
Nigga, what?
Folks, Texas did this 2 years ago. Texas, Governor Abbott. Greg the Bigot Abbott did this 2 years ago. Your liberal Democrats are coming up after Texas? Don't you understand you're getting played? This is not a milestone. If they're signing this stuff into law so easily, people, if they're doing it so easily, that's your first clue that they've already vetted it and they've checked the numbers and realized, okay, this is no threat. All right, we can give you that. This isn't going to actually change anything substantively. So sure, you want to wear a different costume on your head? All right, fine. Why should we fight you over that? If that'll shut you up, why should we fight you over that? And please understand who's at the heart of that. The Democrats. The Democrats will sit up here and try to tell you that was a major win in Texas. The really serious substantive stuff, they're not even having conversations about that. The stuff that really changed things, they're not even talking. That lets you know something. So the reason why there's been a break with so much of the past, The reason why there has been a break with so much of the past is that we stress test these things, we fact check them, and we realize something that these other folks didn't. You see, back then, I guess there was more significance to something like the Crown Act, since they were very overtly oppressing and punishing those things. But once you started making progress, you're supposed to go to the really big stuff. See, folks, if you want to change society, you got to go for the big things. Going after symbolic things or minor things, you can do that after you've tackled the big stuff. After you tackled the big things, now you've got the luxury of going after minor stuff. Although I will also suggest to you that if you tackle the, quote, big stuff, that's going to actually fix a lot of the small things already. If you tackle the big stuff, that is actually going to resolve a lot of those small things already. You'll be surprised how much of the, quote, small stuff gets resolved once you knock down something, that big thing. They want you to focus on the small things as if that's the victory, when in reality, if you tackle this big thing up here, it takes out all the small stuff too. But you see, you will not be able to do that if you will not have the conversation. There's the issue. It's very hard for a lot of folks out there to admit that there is a problem. It's even harder for them to admit that when there is some perceived benefit that they can gain from not acknowledging the problem. See, sometimes folks get caught up in things. That can be difficult. A lot of folks get caught up in things, and this is why you being here is so essential, so that you're not just repeating talking points. You actually understand why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of folks get intimidated. They get scared. They get scared to say what the issue actually is because they're terrified. And they're terrified that the folks they're talking to will be non-receptive after that. Another thing, as I explained before, is that they don't want to admit what the problem is because they've been married to the worldview that they have. But you see, when you come from a culture of resistance and innovation, you don't stay married to worldviews. You don't stay married to worldviews like that. When you have a worldview, please understand you become very susceptible to symbolic gestures. You become very susceptible to symbolic gestures when your priority becomes protecting your ideology and your worldview. If your priority is empowerment and protecting that, well, then that goes differently. If your priority is protecting empowerment, then you see these things differently. It goes differently when that's your priority. See, we are a different generation. We're a new generation. We don't put a premium on symbolism. See, this is weird to some of these other folks. They don't understand. Why is it you all don't have the same obsession with symbolism? This worked on your granddaddies. Now, we're a new generation. Once we have empowerment, we will control everything, including the symbolic. Once we have empowerment, we'll control everything, including the symbolic, which is why they want you to get distracted with something other than the concrete, because now you focus on the symbolic and nothing changes, which was the goal all along. The goal all along was for nothing to change. That's not accidental. And you have a lot of folks among your ranks and among your group that they are married to the old way of doing things. They're married to what somebody else told them. Now that it is time to resist and innovate, they're incapable of doing it. And even worse, they will now try to stop you from doing it. That's an issue. Please understand something here. Our responses to people is different. See, when people question our credentials, we show our credentials. When we question their credentials, they say, you guys is divisive. That's not the proper response. If I question your credentials, you're supposed to be able to show me your paperwork. You're not supposed to start arguing with me. When I ask you to show me your credentials, you're supposed to just pop out with the paperwork. You're not supposed to start talking and explaining and this, that, and the other. That's not supposed to be it. Kamala Harris could not get our support because when her credentials were questioned, she didn't pop out with the paperwork because she couldn't. When Cory Booker's credentials were questioned, he couldn't pop out with the paperwork. That's the difference. You're not supposed to get offended when we do that. You're supposed to be like, oh, I'm on deck. Paperwork check, got it. When we say paperwork check and you get offended, that's the problem. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. We got Enoch B1 on Zoom over here. All right, turn off your speakers, Enoch. Come on, y'all. He is not listening in real time here either. All right, Enoch, what's on your mind? Dude, turn your speakers off or I gotta drop you, man. Turn the speakers off, bro. I gotta keep you. Dude, you're holding up the program. What's going on?
Okay. All right. I'll just read it. All right. I used to be a Pan-Africanist until I went to Ghana. I have a Ghana visa. Went after the results of a DNA test. When I went to Ghana, they looked melanated, but weren't black like I thought they would be, in a sense. Like there was
where did you say you used to live in Ghana?
Was like,
where did you live in Ghana?
I have a Ghana visa, and I have a Ghana visa, and I stayed in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, among other places to explore because I thought I was African. But then when I actually went there, I used to be a Pan-Africanist until I actually went there. So. All right. Now when I dated there, it felt like an interracial relationship. Like if I had kids there, it would feel like I had biracial kids. And their faces don't look like our faces just because they have dark skin. Like even though FBA people look different in different regions, they still feel like the same people. Like they don't feel like a whole nother race. And I try explaining this to other Black people that have never been able to actually go to Africa, because most of us don't get to go. And most of us believe the fake origin story about us, even though our grandparents and great-grandparents knew better, right? And then I remember what my grandmother was telling me after I came back home about our indigenous roots.
Okay, brother Enoch, I'm sure you got a good story here, but this phone situation, I mean, it sounds like you got a good story, but we got to get this phone situation straightened out. So first of all, turn your video back on. Second of all, I don't know if you're using earphones or wireless earbuds. If you are, you need to take those out and just talk directly into the phone. So if you're using earbuds, you need to disconnect them so you can just hear directly on Zoom.
I've disconnected.
Okay, that's
does
a
that
whole
sound
lot.
better?
That's a whole lot better. I'm glad we got his life straightened out for him here. We appreciate that.
Thank
All
you.
right, now, why did you go to Ghana in the first place?
I went after the results of 23andMe because I used to think I was African and I was curious about my genetic percentages
Okay,
and all that.
what year was that?
This was 2021.
Okay, so just 4 years ago.
Yep.
Now, are you former military?
No, I just saved enough money over time while working to go. And I've gone each year. But
You've
I
gone
know
each
I'm
year.
with different people.
You've gone each year since when?
Since 2021, because I've made friends there and I've gotten to know people there.
Okay.
And I used to consider moving there, but now ever since I learned about the FBA movement, that's really encouraged me to, do the most I can here.
Okay, caller, you're walking around a lot for some strange reason. Can you get still, brother? Can you just? I know you're nervous, but calm down. I need you to get still because you might have something productive to say here. I'm curious. You said you made friends over there.
Yes, I make friends easily. I introduce myself a lot, just in general.
Okay, well that's a good habit to have.
A lot
there.
of people tried to scam me, and some people did not try to scam me. So that's another thing. Like over there, it seems like everybody only cares about money. Like even
in
more.
In the chat room, they ask a very good question. You went in 2021. We had a bunch of mess going on with COVID. So how'd you pull that off?
Well, I started working security in September of 2020. So, certain businesses, they needed security even with the COVID. So that helped me save enough money into the summer of 2021 to go visit Ghana.
Okay, but I'm talking about the ability to travel internationally.
Oh yeah, well, I got the shot. I got the vaccine before I went, and other shots you need just for going, yellow fever, etc.
Okay, well, good luck to you. In any case here, so you say you got over there, you met some folks, some were cool, some were not. But I'm just curious because you seem to be kind of critical or skeptical about the whole place. So the good experience you had apparently did not outweigh the bad.
Well, it all depends, but the biggest takeaway was that they were like the shells. They were not black on the inside like I expected. Like I learned a lot about blackness and how most of us think of as blackness is really unique to our lineage here. Like over there, some of them even called my dark-skinned self a white man because I speak English instead of a local African language. Like to them, a black person is someone who knows a local African language. And it's because they identify by language there. So even though I look darker than a lot of them, I speak English, which is apparently a white man's language.
Let me find out here, Enoch. Where are you people from originally?
Well, my mother's father is from West Virginia. My mother's from Ohio. They met in Ohio. My father's father is from Georgia. My father's mother is from North Carolina. They met in New Jersey and then moved to New York City, where my mother met my father after she graduated from Harvard. So she moved to the East Coast. She went to Harvard, then moved to New York City, where she met my father.
Okay,
so FBA all.
I'm glad to hear that. Your cadence, though, sounds a little bit different.
Well, I could introduce you to my parents. I'm with them for Thanksgiving. This is good enough time to come there for it. Although you're saying that that's another thing.
You said that. So now you said 23andMe though tracked you back to Ghana.
Well, I said I was inspired to get a Ghana visa after the results of my 23.
Okay, so 23andMe told you that you came from Ethiopia and Nigeria, and you said, "Great, I'm glad I got Ethiopian Nigerian heritage. Let me go to Ghana." Is that what happened?
No. it was mostly I wanted to go to either Ghana or Nigeria because they were West African countries that knew English well, and Ghana was a direct flight from New York. And the
Okay,
23
what did the 23 and me tell you?
The 23. I could pull. Actually, that would take too long.
He's stuttering,
No,
brother. You don't
Nigerian.
remember what it said?
Mostly, I was trying to remember the exact numbers, but that's okay. Mostly Nigerian, and then Ghana, and then Europe and stuff.
Okay, so mostly Nigerian, some Ghanan, and he decided to go to Ghana instead.
Well, I applied for both. And the Ghana visa accepted me. Because in Nigeria, apparently you have to know someone there, and they have to, vouch for you to the government and write to the government. So I didn't know anybody there. So in Ghana, they didn't have that same requirement. So that's why that was able to work. They accepted me. So
okay, so you were looking to have a visa so you could stay for an extended period of time.
No, I stayed for a month. I would go back every year up to this point for about a month, 4 weeks. Because, at first, I was going to trace my roots and explore and all that yada yada until I realized we're not the same people. And that's how I really did the research, and how only 388,000 Africans out of 10.7 million, 3.5% basically, actually landed here in the modern U.S. So and there's so many of us. Only Brazil has more Black people, and obviously that means we are mostly indigenous. That's what it really is, So I was just adding 2 and 2 together, and I took my experience from how I didn't feel one with the people there. They didn't identify as Black, in spirit, on the inside. It was just like in the movie Get Out. It was like something was taken. It was like a shell of a Black person. But when they say Black, they don't mean Black the way we mean Black. It's just like, wow. It's hard to describe to a non-Black person, but any Black person that gets to go to Africa, you'll see what I mean. It's deep. It's very deep. It's like, wow. And that's what started the whole journey. My grandma used to say, oh, it was Cherokee, right? And I thought, just we had one Cherokee ancestor or something. But no, it's just us here, we are really the original people of this land. And my trip to Africa was what really started getting that into my mind in the first place and digging deeper into it. And now I just know, so that's why I'm no longer a Pan-Africanist, because we're the only people.
He had an opportunity to go meet them, and he didn't feel the Pan-Africanism. So I get it. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Folks in the chat room, he's Black. That's why for those of you who missed it for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe you ate ADHD. I told him to turn his camera on, so I saw what he looked like. Folks are dipping in and dipping out there, I suppose, what they say there. A string of consciousness, if you will. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Roland up here on Zoom for me right quick. Let me get Roland up here. All right, Roland, what's on your mind?
Hey, sir, how's it going today? Good afternoon. Happy no Thanksgivings to you. One of the things I wanted to chime in on specifically was the hair situation and about Abbott. My perspective is that Abbott was trying to make sure that white people who want to wear Black ethnic style type of hairstyle, they wouldn't be judged by Black American people and they kind of throwing up like a reverse racism type of shield. And I wanted to see what your thoughts is on that talk.
I agree with that 100,000%. The only reason that he would do that is if he saw some way to backfire it on Black folks. So there's definitely a white supremacist strategy behind it. As a matter of fact, in places like Texas, Florida, you see them right now. They are basically preparing the land and the groundwork for white folk to have control of the wealth and the resources for perpetuity. So in Florida, they want to get rid of property taxes. Same thing in Texas. Well, who are the majority of the property owners? Who's that?
Right.
So, and what is the biggest asset you have in America? Really, real estate. So now you want to talk about locking in the wealth. You want to talk about that? Well, Jason, why would they do that? Because if their numbers are dropping, they're scared that if we become the majority, we're going to change the laws. So, okay, if you got property taxes, it's a whole lot easier to simply raise property taxes than it is to pass property taxes. If you're in a place that doesn't charge income tax and doesn't have a property tax, it's a whole lot harder to create a property tax than it is to raise one that's already there. So they're looking at Mom Donnie up there in New York and whatnot, and their fear is that if the day ever comes that they're not the majority, we'll change the rules and we'll start taxing them and whatnot. And since they would not redistribute the wealth properly, we'll take care of that for you. So they're trying to lock the laws now so that when that day comes, you know, either it won't happen or it'll be a whole lot harder to happen. And all these other ancillary things you see, there's a backhanded strategy to that also. Definitely.
Yeah, I want to add into more of that and walk in a little bit further with that. Because in the state of Connecticut, they were, at the time from when I was living out there, they were bigging up, high-fiving, saying, oh, we did things for Black people, this, that, and the third. And I told them that the policy didn't make any sense to me because the people were not getting punished, they were not getting fined, and they were not getting jail time. So therefore, it was like any other situations that we have experienced in this country where there is no penalty for racial or ethnic bigotry or racist behavior.
And that's where the rubber meets the road. If the laws have no teeth, then it isn't a law, it's symbolic. And they have perfected trying to sell us on headlines. Oh, look at this headline for this act here, this law here. Okay, is there a penalty? Because everything involving us has a penalty. Everything they use against us, there's a penalty there. So either there is no penalty, or if there is a penalty, they tell you they got some excuse for not using it. But when it comes to us particularly, yes, the rubber meets the road where are there any penalties for doing this? Because everything they do for us is a felony.
And that was some of the problems that I had with them even selling that type of policy to our people. The other thing is that when I'm on LinkedIn, the $5 Indians are, when I see these policies such as the hair care, and I'll mute up after this. The craziest thing about it is that on LinkedIn, they were talking about the natural hair, but they were talking about it from the perspective of keeping tribal traditional hair for the $5 Indians, that they could wear it however they want to. But they did not pay any regards to the Black American folks who actually pushed that policy. And then to double down, when they had to chance to make it national or make it a national policy underneath the federal law, the 3 Native American people, if they're $5 or not, I don't care. I don't care to delineate. I just look at them as a problem. All 3 of them voted no against that policy. So when it was confined to their little reservation, they were cool. But when it came outside the confines of the reservation, they gave it a thumb down.
They squatted up with the Caucasians.
Yes.
Which is natural because that's them anyway.
Yeah, so I just want to just highlight those 3 factors specifically about the Hair Act, because you kind of brought that up. And those are the things that I think as a community we overlook. And we need to take notes to the people who are adversarial. They'll grift and benefit off our policies. But when it comes to be advantageous to uplift us as a people and adversaries, we need to take notes and get those people removed out of politics. Salute to you. Happy No Thanksgiving, and thank you for allowing me to speak on this matter.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. I want to thank everyone who has contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Too Smooth. Oh, my voice. Shout out to Too Smooth. We appreciate that. I shouldn't try to swallow while I'm talking. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, brother. We appreciate that. My man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support tonight, too. We appreciate that. To Andrew L. And thank you to everyone who has contributed for tonight's program. We are doing our No Thanksgiving. And I'm glad to have all of y'all with us here tonight for the No Thanksgiving Day program. Let me see if we can get Adrian up here on Zoom for me right quick. Okay, Adrian, where you at? I don't see you. All right, Adrian, there you go. What's on your mind, brother?
Okay. So I wanted to ask you. I was arguing with my this. I was arguing with this doctor at my high school, and we was arguing about black empowerment.
No,
and,
is this a medical doctor or just a person with a degree?
Oh no, he's a doctor in economics.
All right, go on, Thomas Sowell.
In my high school, but we was just talking black empowerment, but he's Pan-African idealist, and so he was saying that you got to learn the history to know the future, this, then, the third. So I was telling him, so he's saying that we got to go back to Africa for us to have true black empowerment. But I'm like, we have enough history here in America, and that's the real history that we need to know is the history of black America and not Africa. But that's my argument, and I feel like you would agree with me. So this is a rebuttal.
I mean, here's the thing. Whenever anybody tries to tell you about Africa being some bastion of black intelligent thought, all you got to do is ask them, where is it in Africa? When they come to you about, you got to go to Africa because we need Pan-Africanism. Where's the Pan-Africanism among Africans? Where is the black thought among Africans? Where is any of that among them? If you're going to tell me to go someplace, then you need to show me that that's an epicenter for exactly what you're talking about. Where's the pro-black thought in Africa? Don't tell me that, because if I've got more of it than they do, then it sounds like they need to be where I am. Why do I need to go where they are if I got it and they don't?
And he tries to always like bring up Marcus Garvey because Mark Garvey started these cruise ships.
Okay, well if you're smart, then you already know what I'm going to say in response to that. Exactly. So that's what you should say to him. So when you said that, what did he say?
He just and then he started questioning after I mentioned he was just saying that I keep paying the immigrants or the like black Pan-African as a whole brush, like I'm just painting them all as one or whatever, and I'm not really seeing. He just kind of copped out after that because I just kept mentioning like Marcus Garvey got it from America. He had to move here to get blackness to see where it was at. So all that, and then he's like, I agree with you, but that's just like we got to go back to Africa. He's saying that Africa is the center of blackness.
That's religion. What you just described, that's religion.
Okay.
That's a belief system he is expressing, not a fact system. He's telling you that he has faith that if we can just make it to Africa, so if I can just get there, everything else will be all right. And you're asking him, wait a minute, where's your justification or any sort of explanation for what it is you're going to find there? He has none. None. He's giving you his belief system, and you keep asking him about facts, and he keeps bypassing that. So he's got a religion, and I guess he's welcome to his religion, but that doesn't have to be yours.
No, that's good. That's why I appreciate you.
And a lot of folks with degrees, they're very good for concocting belief systems. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, y'all. I mean, in academia, look, for my folks who've been to college, and this is a thing that started back in the 50s and 60s, they sit around, they pass the hookah, they might pass some chick around. What? That was a thing, y'all. So the colleges became places to have these intellectual academic exercises, these academic debates, these academic fantasies. And that's what they do. They sit around, smoke some weed, drink some concoction, and come up with all kinds of far-fetched, metaphysical, surrealistic ideas. And then they would fixate on it. But here's the real thing, and this is the part I need you all to understand. This is the basis of it. They were always focusing on things that they had no intention of actually doing. Do you hear me, one? They fixated on these spacey, far outlandish notions about things they were never going to actually do. Dude just got off the phone, and folks, you've been able to go to Ghana and Africa now for half a century. You've had the ability to go to Africa for half a century. There is not a single black person sitting on American soil wagging their finger at you and me talking about going back to Africa who shouldn't have themselves over there already. If that's such a great and grand and wonderful idea, why are you sitting here in Dallas talking to me? Shouldn't you already be over there and sending me this message in DMs or on Twitter or something? You're standing where I am. You have the ability to relocate just like me, and yet you're not doing it. But you are preaching to me and nagging me about the necessity to do something that you yourself are refusing to do. Now, why is this person nagging you to do this and they themselves are refusing to do it? Because it makes them feel good to proselytize for their religion, but it's not actually something that they're going to do. That's the point. They feel good talking to you about it, but they don't want to be held to the results. See, if somebody been back and forth from here to Africa, it ain't supposed to be no back and forth. If Africa is clearly better than America, there should be one trip, maybe two, but there should not be a third. The first time you went, you saw it was banging. You came back to America, and all right, I've had a chance to compare the both of you. I'm out. Went to Africa. Okay, I saw what you got. I remember what America was. Africa seems better. Let me go back to America just to make sure it is. Back in America. Oh, yeah, America sucks. Okay, you supposed to be gone. When somebody tells you that they're back and forth from Africa to America, what you're telling me is that clearly you have not found a better alternative. So you think you flexing on us telling you about your international travels. The fact that you're telling me about your international travels while standing in front of me on American soil, that tells me all I need to know about your international travels. So please understand that these, once again, we're coming back to symbolism, ideology, religion. These people, a defeated person goes around plugging into intangibles. When someone is defeated, they spend their time plugging into intangibles, and they get offended when you don't want to make believe and play along with them. If there were actually something concrete, they would be indulging in that. They would not be giving you their hypotheses, certainly not their hypotheticals while standing in front of you over here. So now that we have divorced ourselves from their belief system and their fantasies, do you understand there's a lot of people who feel odd, weird, embarrassed, left out? Cognitive dissonance. They don't want to let go of this thing that has defined them for so long. Now that so many of the rest of us have cut the cord, there's a lot of folks who are still plugged in, and they haven't found the courage yet to let that go. They haven't found the courage yet to do that. So when they see that you are no longer plugged in, every word that comes out of their mouths, they don't have a vocabulary for anything that's not plugged in. They're like, how in the hell did you develop a vocabulary that isn't about being plugged in? In the chat room, Mr. Kokomo Pro say Kellis is influencing people to go to Kenya to, quote, invest in Kenya. Let me tell y'all something. I explained this last week, or I explained this a few days ago, but this is just more confirmation. There's a lot of folks, maybe their taxes are kind of sketchy here in the States. They want to go to some place where the documentation from the government can't catch up with them. So that's an old hustle too. Anybody remember Akon? What? Remember Akon when he was trying to get everybody and their mama? When he had some scam enterprise, he had something to sell. When he had something to sell in Africa, he was telling everybody about how y'all need to go to Africa. He spent years doing that. Every word out of his mouth was, man, y'all messed up trying to be here in America. You need to be in Africa. Well, yeah, he had something to sell in Africa. There was a profit motive. Yeah, if you say, well, I don't know where to go in Africa, I bet you he knew exactly where to tell you to go. Do you realize that now that Akon City scam imploded, notice you haven't seen a single headline since about Akon telling folks where they need to go and where they need to be. Now that he no longer has anything to sell, he's no longer trying to tell you that you need to relocate. Now, isn't that coincidental? Now that he no longer has anything to sell in Africa, he's no longer trying to sell you on going to Africa. Well, Akon, Kellis, some of your black scholars. Damn. So, yeah, when folks got something to sell, all of a sudden everybody needs to go to Africa. If they don't have anything to sell, all of a sudden they backed off of that. Ain't that funny how that works? Ain't that funny the way that works? People, catch on to the game. It's not just one person. Please catch on to the fact this is a thing. It's not just one person. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. I got somebody on Samsung here. Not sure who this is. Folks, if you're on Zoom, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on just so we don't have any trolling issues. If you don't do that, please don't call up here. Let me see if we can get Blanco up on Zoom for me here right quick. Let me see if I can get Blanco up here. Yeah, these folks who got something to sell you, these are the biggest. Y'all need to go to Africa, folk. All right, Blanco, what's on your mind?
Happy Thursday, Jason. This is quite an interesting conversation. Again, it's not like African people come over to America and then they're met with complete and utter just hatred from Black Americans. It's always Black Americans who were really gung-ho on trying to find their roots and to meet with their brothers and sisters from across the pond and whatnot. It's the other ones who then say, well, no, I'm not Black. Dominicans saying, oh, I'm not Black, Bobby. So I don't understand where this whole conversation of African, Pan-Africanism, oh, if only Black people would be, Black Americans would be okay with it. Where have you been? They've been the ones who are okay with it. It's everyone else who's not okay with Black or with Pan-Africanism.
Well, here's the thing. Another question that nobody asked. Where are all the Africans trying to encourage us to come over there? Where are they at? It's always some nigga here in America. There's always somebody who's come over here. Show me an African who doesn't have anything to sell. He's got nothing to sell, and he's going to have your back 100% the whole way there. Show me that guy who is standing in Africa holding up the sign saying, hey, we need y'all over here. Where's that guy? Because I've never seen him, and I don't see him today. I just see a bunch of people with a sales pitch for some place you've never seen or never been, or if you have seen it or been it, he claims he's seen there's been some part of it you hadn't. So it's a con job that should be your first sign. Brother, Israel wants Jewish people.
Here we go.
Israel wants Jewish people. It didn't take them no 5,000 damn years either. Israel wants Jewish people. They cannot make it more clear to you. They have literally done everything they can. They're like, hey, dude, all you got to do is get here. You get off the plane, you Jewish. We'll take it from there. We'll take it from there.
They won't even do ID or DNA test, Jason, to find out if you're actually Israeli or whatever. They'll just, if you say you are and you're a pedophile, they'll take you.
Okay, drop a 10, come on in. But yeah, you know, that's how you. That's legit. That's how you know that somebody really wants you. That right there, ease of access. It should be frictionless. You don't have to jump through 1,000 damn hoops. You don't have to talk to 3 wise men and a witch doctor and go over here and hop over this place there. And do you know 15 people? You show up, you drop off the plane, you good. Now, if they can do that, and if Africa, every African country got plenty of white folk and Asians and Russians running around and Middle Easterners, and it's no problem. Okay, and I'm like, all right, where's our welcoming committee? Where's ours? If you want me to feel like I'm welcome, where's the welcoming committee? There isn't one. And I'm like, okay, well, then you're not serious. I don't believe anybody who says that I'm welcome here, and there is no welcoming committee. And until this becomes state policy, I don't believe you. I don't want to see some nigga on the internet telling me I'm welcome. Am I welcome enough that you all have made that state policy? Because we made that the state policy here. We made that the policy of the American government here for you. Coming over on a raft from Zimbabwe. You bringing me excuses about what you can't get done in Zimbabwe where you was born and you live. So I hit you with results and you hit me with damn excuses. And now you're upset that I don't accept excuses as currency anymore. Now you're upset? No, this is adulthood. So stop trying to sell me on a story. If you really got it, you should be able to show me.
You know what's like? We all know history, right? So Marcus Garvey famously worked better, I guess, with the KKK because technically they all had a common goal of sending black people back to Africa. So as we remember our history and whatnot, it's really interesting that as colonialism and imperialism in the 1800s was dividing up the continent into different, countries and provinces and whatnot. Sure, the Dutch get this, the French get this, the English get this, and the Spanish get this, and the Portuguese and all that. Sure, the continent is not necessarily, responsible for making sure all black people are whole. But like you said, isn't it funny that Israel can just one and done, as long as your mom is Jewish or even your dad's mom is Jewish or whatever, they'll take you. They don't even give a fuck if you're from anywhere. But there's, like you said, wise men, witch doctors and whatnot, paperwork and whatnot, just to then have a residency to technically do what Akon's doing. Great broadcast, Jason.
Well, brother, I gotta tell the truth. I gotta spit some truth right quick. I remember as a kid, I watched Nelson Mandela when he was in Marshall Prison. I watched him walking down the dirt roads in the streets with the throngs of people behind him. I watched that. I watched when they get downtown and he's standing on the statue and giving the speech to the people. I was sitting there watching, and I'm not showing you, somebody else showed me. I remember seeing that and my parents telling me about how important this event was and how prestigious that was. I didn't know who Nelson Mandela was. My folks taught me who it was. Okay. And how momentous this occasion was. I got it. But I couldn't help but notice something. You see, Nelson Mandela getting out of prison was a direct result of what we did here. Direct result. Even though certain people like Dick Cheney and others attempted to prevent it. Nelson Mandela hits the streets and whatnot, and he ain't calling none of us over there. Didn't call on us. That was the first sign right there that something's wrong. That was the first sign right there that the fix is in. When I look at Nigeria, Zimbabwe, anybody else, I'm like, by the way, the richest, most powerful black folk on the planet, and you ain't sent a word to us about nothing. What's going on?
It first has to come from you, right? You know, like, the Americans have to first do the legwork to get, you know, Pan-Africanism.
Well, we were the ones who pressured them about South Africa. We pressured them about Zimbabwe. We pressured them about Ethiopia, Rwanda. So they're very well aware of what we done. Ain't nobody rolled out a welcome mat yet. Now, let me remind you of one more thing here. These people over there have sat up here and have spent decades. They have spent decades with these white folk running all over the damn place. They have spent decades doing that.
Russians and Chinese.
Now, if they got the ability to let the Europeans and the whites and the Asians and everybody else, what in the hell? We show up and all of a sudden don't even know what to do? We show up and all of a sudden nobody's got a plan? Only when we show up, all of a sudden the doors are locked and the gates are locked. But Hilton, I told you about this before. That's why, if y'all want to know why it is that we stopped playing this game with the Caribbean and Central America and South America and Africa, it's because, like I say, the word doesn't get around to a lot of folks. I guess because they don't notice or don't understand. The cruise ship industry is your biggest clue right there. Hey, dude, you're not. It's a club and you ain't in it. When you realize that Norwegian and Carnival and Disney got ports of call in these other countries, okay, y'all didn't let these white folks set up whole damn cruise ships here. Cruise ships that hold thousands. And you ain't sent a kite for us yet. But when I say, you know what, yeah, let's just go ahead and stay on your side of the fence, I'll stay on mine. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. Don't tell me about being divisive. You've already divided yourself. Disney should not have more clout than I do, if we really are people. Disney and Norwegian should not have more clout with you than I do. If Disney got more clout with you, then you and Disney need to get by. Stop calling me. If Disney is your boo, you and Disney need to work it out. And don't call me when them folk finish screwing you over, because you're a little con artist your damn self. Brother, you already know what happens. Them folk get over there and do them in the old kind of way. I mean, for those of you, I have to remind you again about maritime law. I mean, they treat the black employees on these cruise ships, the overseas black employees get treated like straight slaves. Damn! Anybody who's been on the cruise ships done seen that. The non-American black employees, and a lot of the black American ones, the non-American ones in particular, they treat them like straight slaves, man. That's a coincidence. That's a straight floating plantation out there. Once they get their asses on the high seas, it's like, oh man. Now you see the caste system. All right, you and me show up, and this, well, sometimes they treat us badly, but you gotta stay back. Okay, well, I'm just like, okay, you know what? You kick it with Carnival and Norwegian. You just keep doing that.
But it's true though.
You keep doing that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear people. And another thing, let me go ahead and debunk some of these fallacies while I got you here, Blanco. I don't want to hear no bastard telling me about is the government. I don't want to hear that neither. If you are an African or a person in the Caribbean and your government is so corrupt and you can't do nothing with them, you have no problem kissing white folks' asses all the way in America. Now you have no problem begging white folk to send money and sex or anything else all the way from America. If your government's not that dependable, then why are you not reaching out to us the same way? Hey, we need y'all to come down here so we can go ahead and get, I can't count on the government. I got to count on my people. They're not, nobody's hitting us with that. As a matter of fact, they're hitting you with the we're Jamaican, we're not black. Don't y'all even cheer for our folks in the Olympics. We ain't black. We're Jamaicans. Okay. See, that's what we get hit with. All of a sudden, it's not the government anymore. You notice that? All of a sudden, ain't nobody hitting you with the government talk. Now, ain't that something? Oh, so it's not the government anymore. Not when I showed up, all of a sudden it's not the government anymore. Oh, okay. So just recognize that's not accidental. Everyone has gotten along thinking that we're their suckers for the last 160 years. And we just took the sucker hat off. We just took it off. That's all we did. We took the sucker hat off. And that was it. We were done with it. We were done with it. Period. They can be as upset about it. Okay, then they're going to have plenty of time to be mad. In the chat room, 99 Attributes needs to be on Zoom, so we'll give him 2 minutes to go ahead and do that. In the meantime, Blanco, I'll let you have the last word.
Not to take any more of the time. I'm going to land my plane with this. Like, not that it's important or anything, but I've read that 23andMe and all the other DNA stuff, technically they could be lying to you about the results because it then adds, if you've noticed that like suddenly everyone's from Nigeria, not to say that they're not or whatever, but like that everyone's from Nigeria, suddenly everyone's from Uganda and Ghana and from Kenya, but nobody's from Kilimanjaro, nobody's from Chad, nobody's from, you see what I'm saying? So like, not that it would matter or not, but I've read that apparently these tests and results were done in a way to then bolster up after the 1960s with the whole, immigrants coming through, that certain groups were then able to get more of a priority, if you want to call it that. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe that people are from where they are or not. I just believe that if it's illegal to get a DNA test in Israel, then I don't know why you're so gung-ho about finding out where you're from.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the company's finances and everything else, they got in legal trouble and things. So there's been a lot of that going on. But the bottom line is, even you can trace those things. It's great to know where you come from. That's all wonderful. It really, really is. What I'm saying is that please stop selling us on the idea that we are the long lost children of a place, because in America, the entire beef is that folks want to get mad when we don't want to really rep, quote unquote, American Western society America. To which we say, well, you're an American. To which I say, well, show me where my Americanness is honored. Don't bring me your biracial kids trying to talk about they half white. Show me where your whiteness is honored. Before you try to throw that white line to me, I'm like, no, you's a fool. Show me where white society honors your white card. Show me where you got validation as a honorary white person. When that day comes, then we can have that conversation. But you see, you's a fool and a liar and delusional, trying to sell me on something you ain't even got. I can see you don't have it. There's nowhere you can go here where your white card is honored, and never will be. For Americanness, I will respect that as far as I see America respecting me. No further, no more, no less. No more, no less. So do not demand that I be the most patriotic American if America is not the most pro-patriotic of Jason. Now, if America's like, you got to rep me, but I'll think about repping you. Okay, well, I'm thinking about repping you too. Period. I will rep you to the extent that you rep me, and I'm saying it to your face. I will rep you only to the extent that you rep me. You want me to give you 100? I need to see that 100 over here. Let me get that 100 first. And I've already paid my taxes, so you got enough. I ain't seen that 100 yet. Hell, I haven't seen as much as I've given you. So don't you dare try to demand something of me that you haven't even given me. Okay, stop yelling about your Pan-Africanness if you do not, and your African origin, if that African origin will not honor it. Stop yelling about Nigeria and Ghana, this, that, and the other, if they're not gonna, and there's no one there honoring it. The only person talking about it is you. But they're not. So what's the point? Do your DNA test. That's great. But don't think that's going to be a flex. Because I'm going to ask you, where is it honored? And we both know it ain't going to get honored anywhere. It's symbolic. It makes you feel better to have that knowledge. Great. That's wonderful. I have no problem with that. Just don't think you're going to wave it in front of my face. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me see if we can get Gifted up here on Zoom for us here right quick. Let me see if we can get Gifted up here right quick. I don't see Gifted on Zoom. Now, for folks, if you're on Zoom, just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues, just make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. YouTube is not going to see you. But just for the host here to go ahead and make sure we don't have any trolling issues. Gifted, I can give you 5 seconds to correct that. There you go, Gifted. All right, Gifted, what's on your mind?
None. They told me to log in.
Okay, sir. If you were told to call in, you already know why. So let's not play dumb. You know what you said. You know what you did. So is it going to be the coward or courageous? Because now you're going to tell us where your lineage comes from. All right. Is it coward or courageous? Which one is it, y'all? Which one y'all think is going to be?
What's up?
Okay, brother.
Nah,
you look like Busta Rhymes from the drug addiction years. What? Damn. Y'all, but this fella, I mean, he got the dreads and everything. He got the dreads and everything. He look like Busta Rhymes from the drug addict years.
What you look like?
All right, brother. I look like the fella who is saying that you need to tell us why you calling in. That's what I look like.
Nah, I called in because they said call in.
Okay, I said I was confused, then you know what you said that had you calling in.
I said I was confused.
Okay, what is your name in the chat room, sir?
99 attributes.
Okay, then now he's playing dumb. So he knows what he said. He don't understand on it now. Okay. We'll get to where you people from here in just a moment. We'll get to that in just a minute. You were questioning why we're talking about this tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden, now he remembers that. Now that I said that, all of a sudden, ooh, yeah. Now you're talking to me. By all means, tell me which part of it you ain't getting.
I don't understand why, like the focus is on Africa and the Caribbean, and you know what I mean? Like I don't understand that.
Okay, you've been listening for 2 hours and you don't understand yet?
Nah, I just tuned in. Like,
okay, the whole part you were listening to there, that didn't make sense to you. You listened for the whole 20, 30 minutes and still don't get it.
Nah, it don't make sense.
I imagine that's a lot of your life right there. So there's a whole lot that just doesn't make any sense, I imagine.
What I'm saying is just, I mean, it's just not my experience.
Okay, what is your experience?
Not sure. We all here. I mean,
glad to hear that. Where are your people from originally?
Georgia and Florida.
Lie. Where's your grandmother from?
Florida.
Dude, you look like you got the same hair as Kodak Black on here talking about your folk from Florida.
Yeah.
Dude, you are straight Caribbean or Haitian. You are straight Caribbean.
Nah.
Y'all, he's got some weird Unicron beard on here. Brother, you are not one of us. You're not. You are not one of us. He's got the immigrant gap. What? He's got the Caribbean gap in his teeth. So he's got, I'm just letting y'all know, he's got long stringy dreads on here. He's got the Caribbean gap in his teeth, but he's telling us he's one of us.
I am.
And he knows, y'all, this is 1,000, not 100% immigrant. This is 1,000% immigrant. So why don't you just rep the real hood you from, man? What the hell is it with you cats that y'all don't want to just rep the Caribbean street you from, man? This is embarrassing.
How much you want to bet?
Okay, let me turn the camera on and let everybody else decide if I'm lying or wrong.
I don't care what they say.
Okay, I'm asking you for your permission that they can take a look at you one time and they'll make that. Okay, well, if I'm wrong, then why don't you want the folks to just go ahead and see that and they can immediately tell if I'm lying or not?
Because that's what I get all the time. I mean, what island you from? Where you from?
Yeah, brother, there's no way in the world yo folks from Alabama and you decide to do your hair like that.
They ain't from Alabama.
Okay.
Florida and Georgia.
What part of Florida?
Uh, Miami, Tampa.
There are no black folk. Miami, Tampa, dude, you just went clean across the damn state.
Dade City. Yeah, Dade City.
Your grandmother was in Miami and Tampa?
Nah. They from both, really. I got family in Tampa, I got family in Dade City.
Brother, we ain't really from Miami like that, dude. So why are you trying like, that, man?
You say we. You can't compare your existence to everybody else.
Dude, show me the historical black presence in Miami. I'll wait.
I said Dade City.
Okay, now he's moving, and it was Miami. Now it's Dade City. It's migrating. Show me the historical black presence in Dade City. I'll wait.
And Quincy, Florida. Okay, too.
Third time. Show me the historical black presence in Dade City. I'll wait.
My family still got land out there.
You trying to tell me your family been there for 120 years?
About that. We still got land in Tampa. Still got land in Quincy, Florida. And Georgia, yeah. They migrated up here to Jersey.
Wow. So you're in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Y'all, he got family from Southern Florida and that New York, New Jersey area. So, need I say more? Y'all, there's enough of y'all who get around enough. Y'all already know. Yeah, this isn't even, brother, this isn't even halfway honest. Which part of Queens your family from?
Queens,
New York. Which part of Queens, New York y'all from? Because if it's Haitian and Dominicans, it's going to be Queens.
We're not from New York. We got family that's in New York, though. In Brooklyn, we got family that's in Michigan, too.
Wow, isn't that amazing? We got family from the two hot spots, Florida and New York, and that's the Caribbean.
Not New York.
Those Jersey. Are the Caribbean drop zones. You just said you had family. You just said you had family in Brooklyn. You just said that.
What's wrong with the Caribbean?
Okay, you just said you had family in Brooklyn. You just said that, not me. You just said it.
Most black people in America came from the Caribbean. Christopher Columbus didn't even land in North America. He landed in the Caribbean where he seen those copper-colored people.
Dude.
Only about 400,000 slaves came straight to America.
Okay, well, that's a messed up history lesson that you're attempting to pull off here. But unless you're trying to tell us that the Caribbean is what populated the black folk in America, which would be straight insanity.
A lot of people did come from the Caribbean.
No, sir. A lot of folks came from the Caribbean a whole lot later once the Europeans show up. What about the presence before Columbus, sir? There's a whole book.
Yeah,
there's literally a whole book titled that.
It was a few of us here too.
Yes, the emphasis on the word few. Very, very few. There was no reason to do that. The Caribbean is a very climate place. It's very hospitable, great land for farming. So people in the Caribbean didn't have to do like the Europeans and flee somewhere else because the environment was so inhospitable. So there wasn't really anything pressing Caribbean people to go somewhere else. They were already straight where they were. Yeah, just a little history geography lesson for you there. People travel when things are bad. People don't travel from a great climate that's warm year round. The ground is great for farming. Not good for farming. Caribbean soil isn't good for farming. It's great for farming. Why in the hell do they need to come to Florida or Alabama where they have snow? Why do they have to do that?
A lot of them got brought here.
There's not a lot of them who got brought here, sir. When it came to slavery, they dropped you off in the Caribbean and then kept going. They didn't pick them up in the Caribbean and bring them to America. What the hell are you trying to talk about? Are you trying to tell us that the slavers picked up folk in the Caribbean and brought them to America?
Still wasn't slaves in America?
Are you trying to tell us that the slavers picked up folk in the Caribbean and brought them to America?
Some, yes.
Nigga, what?
Y'all, this Jamaican, his
how did
Haitian dude
New
is
Orleans
trying to
and-
tell me that the slavers who were dropping folk off in the Caribbean decided to go to the Caribbean and pick up some of the folk they dropped off and bring them to America, as if those people were not already spoken for in the Caribbean as far as slavery and ownership. That's what he's trying to tell us. So he's trying to tell us that just like they picked up strays in Africa, they were picking up strays in the Caribbean too. And I'm like, show me a single story where that happened, because these would be white men mad at each other. How you gonna grab this white man's slave and go run off with it? He'll kill you. So no, sir. White folk doing just like, well, one nigga's the same. He won't miss a few of them. He's got 1,000 niggas down here. He won't miss 500 or 600 of them.
That's subjective, but what I'm saying is I don't understand where the talk, where the talk about Africa.
Yeah, there you go. Now just go ahead and get to this part here, because you're disrespecting and disgracing your bloodline when you won't be just honest about what your issue is. He's a Caribbean dude, and he won't be. Why are you being divisive?
We disrespecting our bloodline when we
Ours.
talk about, yeah.
Okay, who is our? But in any case, why don't you just go ahead and say that that's what the issue is? That's what you have a problem with right there. That's your problem.
Of course.
Yeah, there you go. Now tell me. We need each other.
I
show me where the Caribbean is expressing its need for us.
I understand.
Okay, no. Answer my question. Where is the Caribbean expressing its need for us?
Where the Caribbean expresses need for us.
Yes, you said we need each other. Great. Show me where the Caribbean is expressing its need for us.
They don't have to. Who has to express it?
Okay, then I ain't got to express it either.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all good. Like, we supposed to chop the heads off the coons and the sellouts and the jokers that's not on point.
Right, and if they're not rolling out the welcome mat for me, I'm not going to pretend that there's a welcome mat.
But everybody's not like that though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but enough are
trying to put everybody. But it's black people that's like that too, against our own as well.
Okay, now he's trying to we as our own worst enemy thing.
It's everywhere. You know what I mean?
Sir, what there isn't is black folk leaving America, going to the Caribbean and defending the Spanish and the colonizers down there on Caribbean soil. That's not happening anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that silence right there, when your brain just glitching, that silence, that's telling you that your argument's just been destroyed.
But there's a lot of black coons out here.
Okay, but you know what? There's none of them leaving America. I'll say this again, going to Caribbean soil or African soil, fighting for and defending the white colonizers on Caribbean or African soil. Now, that's not happening.
No, that's true.
Okay. Checkmate match.
How is that a checkmate, though?
Because it's not all of us doing it. You just said it. It's not all of us. If it were all of us, then there would be us going over there and defending their white governments and telling them folk that they need to just work harder and there is no racism. If it were all of us, so I just debunked that one clearly by your own admission. It's not all of us.
True.
Okay, well then, you have a lot of learning to do.
A lot of learning about what?
Because you thought there was a problem. All you've done is confirm everything I just said. So welcome to the dark side. We have cookies.
Nah, I understand. You gotta chop those type of people heads off. I mean, I ain't knocking that.
Okay, well then you understand what we're talking about tonight then. But yet he first claimed he didn't understand, but he's claiming there is a problem. There's no problem with acknowledging that. The problem you have is that for you and your Caribbean family there, it's kind of difficult because it's like, wait a minute, this is putting us on the outside. No, we're doing is saying there is a code and there are standards, and folks are violating the code.
Caribbean.
Dude, you look like you sing drill rap or world music.
Nah.
You look like the fellow, the Somali fellow from Captain Phillips if he had dreads. That's who you look like.
No. Mm-mm.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Y'all, I'm just saying, it's just, yeah, he looked like one of them until, no, he's not. Y'all can hear him. We from Florida and New York, New Jersey. I'll be damned. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Robert up here on Zoom for me right quick. Let me get Robert up here on Zoom. All right, Robert, what's on your mind?
TBA, one of our greatest master teachers in the history of our lineage and our anchor man in the new black media. Yeah, TBA, the other day, man, I was listening to it was a masterful broadcast as usual when you was talking about James Smalls. And I'm gonna be quick, man. I saw how you took the high road, and that was very classy of you. You was like, I ain't even gonna, go to one of my catchphrases. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna drag them. I'm gonna just give you all the facts and break this situation down. But I will. I'm not speaking for the Black Authority. I'm speaking for myself. And TBA taught us one of the greatest lessons of any of the broadcasters in the new black media, and that's you can't trust these old niggas. And it's not all of them, of course. Nothing is absolute, but a lot of them have this antiquated mindset. They all back when they was with the African drum circles and the kente cloth and all that old stuff, and they trying to bring that fantasy into this day and time. You know what I mean? And they can't even admit that they wrong to a just course, like you were saying the other day on your broadcast when you were speaking on it. And all it is, man.
But brother, do you realize the problem with that? What you're saying, you're talking about what I said, and what you're saying makes perfect sense. But do you realize the problem in what you just said? You just said they cannot admit that they're wrong. All right. But do you know what is incumbent when you are a person who desires to be in a leadership position? And you've been telling folks, you know the plan, you got the game plan, you got the map, you know the way. And then you have to admit that you were wrong. The moment that you do that, you're terrified to tell people that you're wrong, because the second you admit you're wrong, they're going to stop listening. They're going to stop listening to you. They'll listen to somebody. They're just not going to listen to you anymore.
And you know what? On that fantastic point, TVA, I want to interject another lesson that you taught us. And I really take this lesson that I've heard you say time and time again to the heart. You always speak, and I'm paraphrasing, you always say, like, I ain't tripping off that because I don't have no ego to inflate or deflate. Basically, that's what you be saying. And it's just so real, man. We as human beings got to adopt that mindset, because people, egos, including mine, can get so out of control. And when I look at these clowns, like these pan scam Africanists, because that's what they are, like Smalls and like Omar Johnson. And I'm speaking for myself. This ain't TBA, so don't attack him, you Pan-African bozo clowns out there. I'm speaking for myself, so don't attack him. This me saying that. Omar and all them clowns out there, when they doing this, their egos are so big that, back to what you just said, they can't reel it in and just admit, hey man, upon deeper analysis and a further investigation on the facts that's laid in front of us, I was wrong, man. You know what I mean? They can't do it. Their ego too big, man.
Well, brother, I want to give you all a new insight into this.
Yep.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
Our immortal ancestor, Brother Neely Fuller.
Yes, sir.
He taught us about, because he understood, he was in the military.
Okay.
He got around. He's seen some things. And I talked about that last week. And he understands that, folks, they get around and see things. Yep. All right. And you're going to meet people. All right, we get that. Yep. Some will be black, some of them ain't. All right, that's fine. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It'll be going on for thousands of years after you and I are gone.
Absolutely.
All right, we can accept that. All right, it is what it is. It's not the beginning of the world nor the end. But the problem is when you go exploring, and in the process of finding yourself, you may find yourself, I don't know, in bed naked with somebody. She may be cute, but again, she might not be. Yeah. But she there. And his issue was much like me. Like, okay, you ain't thrilling me by telling you having sex with somebody. Yeah, you invented it's not new. The issue I have is that I don't have an issue with who you got into bed with as much as I have an issue with what happened when you got out. You done got out the bed, walked out here on the street, and you are confused. That chick you was laying up with ain't confused. There's a reason why chicks with a green card are treacherous. You in bed with her and she doing everything, squilling from the sun going up, the sun going down, and you are now confused. She's not confused about why she got into bed with you.
Be fully focused.
You are confused about literally everything that's happened. You're in total confusion.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters from around the world, we have always had that conversation in the context to which it was brought to us by Brother Neely Fuller.
Yes.
I am here tonight to update your files. Folks, you need to understand that dynamic also applies to folks who go to other places. Not what where white folk at, but where melanated people are. What? You see, you may leave America, and because you done laid up with an Afro-Latina down there in the Dominican Republic, oh, am I not saying something I shouldn't be saying? Is, oh, you done laid up with a chick down there in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
You done laid up with a chick down there. You might have gotten all the way over to Africa or Ethiopia and had your chance to sample the local wares. And you feel like just because you done got old girl to wrap them soft thighs around you that you are, that now Pan-Africanism is global. It must be, Jason. Don't you say I'm laying up with her right now? This Pan-Africanism right here. And you're confused. You think that your sexual access, see people, I'm the one who brought you all the ideology about interracial sexual access. But don't forget, the sexual access can be a son of a gun regardless. There's a whole bunch of folks who are confused, either interracially or otherwise. They are confused, and they think that if they got sexual access, everything else is fine. So you see, Pan-Africanism must be a real thing because I'm currently residing in bed with an African female. So you see, if I am in Ethiopia or Ghana or Zimbabwe or Sudan or Chad or Kenya or what, name your place, if I'm here and I'm in bed with her, then Pan-Africanism must be real. It must be. And when you finish dropping off your dollars, because that will be what you will do.
It's required.
She didn't give you the time of day till you had a few shekels to flick off, but when you finish dropping off some money there for a minute, when you get your happy ass back on that plane, she is going to go back to the tribe. We have always heard this articulated in the context of non-black females, non-black males, but I'm here to let y'all know tonight, if you want to know the major obstacle you keep running into with some of these folk there, let's be clear. I'm not saying everybody on some Jeffrey Epstein stuff, but let's just keep it a $103. When you see a black man who keep going back to a place, and he ain't just going for the dudes.
Yeah, I peeped that too on TBA. I'm like, man, you old geezer, you clown ass nigga, keep running back and forth over there talking about you hotel this, you organization now. I'm like, nigga, it's more to it.
A man don't keep going to some place he don't live if it ain't some females winking at him. That it's been that way since the beginning of time. It will continue to be that way. Period. Point blank. It ain't never gonna change. So when you want to read between the lines and this stuff, just understand if a fella keep going back somewhere and ain't no money getting made. Now, if it's money getting made, that might explain it. But he keep going back somewhere, and you ask him about what happened. He keeps telling you he was hanging out with people. He keep going. He was hanging out. I'm like, okay, well, I know what you was doing. Yeah, you wasn't just going around making watercolor paintings. That wasn't happening. Did you meet some people? Okay, I guarantee it was a female in there. I promise it was. And if he goes back on a regular basis, he going back to go see her or somebody like her. Okay, I'm not hating on that either. What I'm saying is now you've come back to me and you're telling me that you have a new view of the world. You're coming back to me and telling me that 2 + 2 don't equal 4.
Right.
And I'm like, whatever you did when you went back over there, now you telling me you got a new math. Well, I don't believe you, but obviously something's happening over there that's got you coming back talking to me differently, talking to me silly.
Real silly.
Because you see, I should be able to see the same thing you see. Right. And I shouldn't have to go over there to see it. I should be able to see it from here. Because remember, the only thing I can't do at a distance is lay up with the broad you laying up with. Now, that's the only thing I can't do from here. Everything else, I can do it from right here.
Right.
So if you keep telling me it's no, you don't understand till you go there. Well, there's only one thing you can do going there that you can't do being here. And if I'm not interested in that, then I'm fairly secure what I'm thinking is not going to change. And here's the crazy thing about it. It's not, even if I did, it wouldn't change for me afterward. So even if I did, that's not going, whatever she got ain't going to change my mind. But I need you all to understand why so many of these individuals have been so motivated to argue with you over this and to dispute it and fight with it. It's like, what in the hell happened? Something y'all did not consider is there's a whole bunch of Afrocentric dudes with their dashikis on. Every time you hear from them, they talking about they've been here, they've been there, they've been to Egypt. They would like to lecture you.
Yeah.
They want to lecture you. They always want to lecture you. Did I say they want to lecture you? All right. But every time you turn around, it's one of them. It's like, yeah, that's them too. And some of them got a pedigree for. A lot of y'all like, oh, I know he doing it. Like, yeah, okay. I want you to know the rest of them are too. The rest of them are too. So just recognize what's really motivating it. They feel like they got some sexual access that you don't. If you got folks who want to lecture you and always yelling about Pan-Africanism, it's like, why is he so stoked about this Pan-African thing? Probably because he done found a spot that he thinks he got a few females he can lay up with that the rest of y'all don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So, because here's the thing, if old girl is sitting over there in Ethiopia, she can't get back to y'all about what's really going on. So, a lot of that happening. Now you know what motivates it. I'll let you have the last word.
No doubt about it, man. TBA, listen, man. I heard you loud and clear. 3 + 3 over all the way in Africa equals 6. And we can see that all the way across the Atlantic from here in America, man. Thank you for everything you do, brother. Be one.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, man. I just need y'all to understand there's a bunch of dudes. They have their passports or whatever. They get over there in Africa, and next thing you know, it's about, I found me a little queen over here, and I found a few of them. Then they start talking about, polygamy and African women. Y'all need these African women because they respect the man. And it's like, okay, respect the man means what? And he can have as many hoes as he wants. And then it becomes that. And then they come back and tell you about that. And next thing you know is a whole big lecture circuit about it. And just peep the game, y'all. Just peep the game. It's nothing new under the sun. Peep the game. All right, let me go ahead and get Brother Elijah up here on Zoom for me right quick. Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, big brother Jason. Jason, I want to further build on this non-Pan-Africanism.
Dude, Elijah, what the hell's wrong with you? You don't got me playing, do you?
No.
Okay, he got 20 folk over there. You must have folk over there for Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah. My grandfather's right here.
Okay, well,
my brother's right here.
Congratulations. He yelled at the game. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I got my headphones on. And the football game. They're watching the football game.
Clearly they are.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, brother. But, brother, I do have I want to further build on this Pan-Africanism. I wanted to ask this question. I never understood this since I was a child. How can you build with somebody, and when you're talking about the brothers and sisters from the African continent, I'm not putting all of them down, I'm not. But how do you build with somebody and you can smell them from a mile away? And then when you try to tell them, hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, this ain't the thing, they will tell you shit like it's against my religion to use certain fragrances and everything like that. Not caring that, hey, you're lighting up the room and we're not accustomed to certain smells.
Okay,
And
well, in Japan, they don't like colognes and stuff like that either.
Yes, sir.
In Japan, that's more of a American thing, European thing, but in certain places, that's, less of an issue. I will tell you, I haven't had a lot of experiences with, folk from the continent who hadn't been introduced to, dial yet. I haven't had I've had a few, not a lot. I haven't had a few. I will tell you one thing, that doesn't fly with me.
Right.
You know why? Because as soon as they meet Brad or Chad, they ain't never run up on him, smelling like a bag of chitlins. So obviously somewhere along the line, they figure out how to do that. You have never seen an African chick at the strip club where the white men are smelling any old kind of way. So that's never been an issue.
But can I tackle that, what you just said? Brad or Chad, most of them, let's keep it a buck, big brother. Most of them, they smell like dogs. They smell like sulfur. So they're not going to tell the difference most of the time between actual funk and our fragrance themselves and everything like that. They just have, it's like a numb reaction to them, to be totally honest with you, big brother.
Well, here's my thing. Hell, I could let the funk mob thing go if they were on code. I'd rather have a bunch of funky on code Africans than a bunch of sweet smelling ones doing what the hell I'm looking at right now. So believe it or not, I'd trade with them on that. And I'd be like, okay, we can negotiate that part. Because I can be upwind from them. I ain't gotta be downwind from them necessarily, but it's it's what they're doing. Some of the other stuff they're doing that concerns me.
Yes, sir. And I do want to ask you this because you said something 4 years ago when you gave that masterpiece commentary about the deportation of the Haitian immigrants when under Joe Biden. You mentioned something, and I never got around to asking you this, but it's going with this whole thing with Professor Smalls and what you're saying. When did this whole nonsense of this isolated enclaves begin? Because the reason I asked this question, I hear a lot of, I first experienced this when I was 14, turning 15, when I started going to high school in Manhattan, and I started seeing a bunch of chocolate black looking Dominicans, but they never rocked with the other black non-speaking Spanish Dominicans. I'm not just talking about them. I'm just talking about in general. I'm just talking about how I got introduced to it, but I couldn't articulate it. But I started to notice when I listened to you and Brother Tariq, how a lot of them got their start in the Black American communities. We know Harlem and Bed-Stuy. Then they spread it to Flatbush, to Bronx, what you were saying earlier, to another caller, Queens. When did that nonsense begin with this whole isolated enclave? And why did they decide to do that?
I mean, that was the whole reason they were brought here. I mean, colonization didn't just happen here, it happened everywhere. And
yes, sir.
They were systemic. See, there's conversations that happen among the white supremacists. It's strategic. So they know they got rules of the road. They have established policies. Let me explain to you. As black people, everybody talks about power until you show up. Everybody talks about the rules till you show up. The reason why black people as a group are not able to succeed in finance, stock trading, and things like that is because those relationships are person to person. That's not something you get into because you were hired or because you got a degree. Those are based strictly on who you know. So with that being the case, locking you out is easy. Okay, what does that also tell you? These folks got an agreement about who they let in and how they let them in.
Right.
So y'all, when you take a look at these illegals working on these farms and stuff, I told y'all about this. And by the way, there was a white woman who put up a video on YouTube here a few weeks ago that confirmed every word I said. She said that when these illegals come up here and work on these white folks' farms, this is a white woman now. She said when these illegals come up here and work on these white folks' farms, they tell them that I know the people back in Mexico where you're from. So if you say anything, you know, I know people back there who can get at you, who can get at your people.
Right.
This is a white woman who said this. A white woman. So she confirmed everything I told you. Okay, what does that tell you? He's not the only one. She was telling you that this is a culture. This is the way it is. Not just at one farm. This is the way it is across the board.
Right.
If they brought them over here, brother, that's part of a practice.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of a long-standing practice. So all of them, this is what they do. Well, you ain't fought years ago in Texas, Dallas or whatever. The Latinos work at the McDonald's, but the white man owns it.
Of course.
Okay, so ultimately he's the one responsible for hiring them, bringing them there. So yeah, the Latinos work there, but it's a white man who owns the McDonald's. It's a white man that owns the Wendy's. It's a white man that owns the Burger King. It's a white man that owns the Hyatt Hotel. Hey, Governor Pritzker. So that's who's bringing them. So there are certain numbers of certain people from certain places that they bring over here because they know the mentality and they know what they're going to get. They also know what they're going to get from you. They would like to keep that to a minimum. And so these other folks, they were brought over here, and the white folk didn't have to tell them to click up. They were already doing that.
Yes, sir.
They were clicking up when they got over here. So because they have no problem coming amongst us when it's time to hand out benefits. They got no problem doing that. So just clicking up together is something that was allowed. We allowed that. Okay, there were language barriers, but after the first generation, there no longer was.
Right.
All your second generation immigrants speak English. First generation might not speak English. That's the way it's always been. But the children will. Okay, but that didn't gel together either. So the clicking up part of it, that was the game plan because they wanted to have power for themselves.
Right.
They didn't see themselves as black folk before they got over here. So the problem, I went to that explanation to say the problem what you were saying was that would only matter if they saw themselves as black or identified as black before they got here.
Right.
But they don't.
And then listen, what you were saying, I wanted to add a point when you were saying about the restaurant like McDonald's or the Hilton and everything. Yeah, they work there and the white man owns it. You were the one that, I'll never forget, this was months ago, just some months ago, you was the one that exposed, you would have at least 70% or 80% Hispanic towns, aka Uvalde, Texas, and they would have a white man running the show as the mayor.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and it still continues that way today. So yeah,
right,
I mean,
right.
A white overseer, a white strong man, they are very comfortable with that. They're very comfortable with that. We're the only folks who never developed that comfort with it.
Of course not.
I'll let you have the last word.
Hey, brother, look, hey, thank you for tonight's broadcast and everything like that. Like as you always taught us, all right, white supremacy never takes a holiday, and neither do we. And I will be here for you. I'll be here with you on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Be one to you and the family.
Thank you very much. Give us a call here. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Prince. We got Brother Prince out of Richmond up here on Zoom. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, brother. You know, this word Pan-Africanism, it is not a tangible. It is just, they use it like a password, a secret password to get into certain circles. And I want to ask you a question, brother. Is Pan-Africanism turning into the new type of sex tourism?
Well, I mean, it to a certain degree, there was a certain segment that was always their thing. You know, they called it Pan-Africanism, but I mean, they were African touring. And of course, maybe they had different reasons for doing so. And I got no problem with that. Go see the world. That's great. That's wonderful. But when you come back to me and try to misrepresent your motives, now that's where we're going to have an issue. When you're telling me about we all need to be in Africa and stuff because you go over there a lot and you're trying to increase our presence there because maybe you made some promises you couldn't keep. Because your dollars are not enough to really change things over there. So now you coming back over here trying to get more of us to go over there because the only thing we can do over there is go spend money. We don't have any people. We don't have anybody. The government's not going to give us any payment to stay there. So we are a tremendous benefit to them.
Yes.
Okay, well, to those of us who got different ideas, okay, so you see why there's a bunch of people who have a vested interest in trying to convince as many of you to show up as possible because the only thing you can do is show up and spend money. So they're trying to encourage you to be a multiplier and an amplifier for them.
Yes. See, that's a stepping stool. See, they're not just misrepresenting their motives or what they're trying to do. They're misrepresenting us because just like many other groups, in order to big themselves up, they have to down their own people. You understand? That's why they wag their finger. You know, Dr. Umar does it sometimes. Professor James Small does it too. They talk to us on a real gutter level at times. I have respect for Dr. James Small, but I've seen him kind of do that Negro thing, like, well, y'all need to get it together. Talking in front of other Africans, I consider that off code. I consider that off code, in my opinion, because what he's not telling them and not being honest about, and most Pan-African will not be, they don't tell them about our families, our grandparents, what they believe, what they never, my grandmother, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, and grandfather, they never seen themselves as, they saw themselves as black people, and there was a code. So when there were a few maybe Africans in the 70s, but they didn't dare question anything about our culture. They were treated with respect. Nobody tried to say, look, that's an immigrant over there. They showed them respect.
Right, but here's the thing about what you just said. Here's where confusion gets in. When we call ourselves black, we are not simply describing an incidental characteristic. Hey, you're dark skinned. We are describing an identity.
Yes.
That is not what any of these other people are doing.
What they see.
When they say they are black, that's a word they got from you, first of all. And second of all, they are describing an incidental characteristic. So you see, we can't have the black conversation with somebody who doesn't mean the same thing we mean when we say it. This conversation is going nowhere because he doesn't mean it the way you mean it. Just like with white people. When they say they're white, they are not describing an incidental characteristic. They are describing a social, political, economic status. They are not describing their skin color. They are describing their status. Once again, something totally different from what you say. When you say you're black, you're not describing a status. You're not describing a social status. You're describing an identity, but you're not describing a social status. So, folks, we use these words. And until we get straight about, by the way, hey, this fellow over here doesn't mean it the way you do. Even if he's got a skin hue close to yours, he doesn't mean it the way you do. Otherwise, you just end up going round and round and round in circles. The issue that I have with a lot of this stuff is trying to explain away the obvious. Stop telling me that these people don't know what the hell they're doing. We've been complaining about this for decades. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. If they didn't, then they would be coming to us and all this would get fixed very quickly. But that's not happening because we tell them what the problem is and then they start pushing back about why it's okay. That's the problem. Okay, when somebody tells you it's okay for them to do what they're doing, he understands why he's doing it.
Yes,
stop telling me that he's confused and he don't know. He knows exactly why he's doing
it. Jason, I give you two examples. So you go around the world just like Jason said. I was in the military. I was in Nuremberg, Germany. I was stationed in Bamberg, about an hour away. And when I was there was a West African. They know who we are. They know exactly what we are. Looking at me with contempt right outside of a mall. in Nuremberg, Germany, looking at me with despise, couldn't take his eyes off of me. He was fuming. Why? This is 1989 now, but he's wearing a Michael Jackson Beat It outfit, full red Beat It outfit. You sitting here, you're outdated on our culture. Nobody been wearing that since the early 80s, but you want to resent me while sitting there trying to think that having that outfit on with a jerry curl is giving him some type of status. And the other one, I went to see Shirley Caesar in Ramstein, Germany. I believe that where it was. And they have big sidewalks. But this, I want to say Ethiopian, because I kind of tell the difference between them. And he had like 4 or 5 kids and his wife. He took them kids and moved them all the way almost to the fence to stay away from me. I'll never forget that. They know who we are. They want to make sure they distinguish themselves from us. They're not trying to preserve their culture, because as soon as they see some white people behind the kids, they wouldn't give all that up. Those missionaries go over there doing all kind of freaky stuff. One of the biggest pedophiles, that young man that got taken out in jail, he was all over there in India and in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, you could never do that because they'd be watching you.
Yes.
These other folk can do that because they're just like, oh, we need to let the white God in, but you would never be able to get away with that, not because they're so pious, but because they would be watching you the whole time.
Yes. They were watching us. They wouldn't let me ask you this here. Do you think the so-called black elders, especially with this Pan-African community, do you think they got an angst against us because, number one, they did not build us? We kind of rediscovered Malcolm X and different leaders on our own. They didn't tell us about it like that. If they did, they would beat us over the head with Malcolm X, like in the Fresh Prince, when his uncle was saying, you talk about Malcolm X, I saw him speak and all this, like that's supposed to mean anything. If you didn't tell us his ideas, because he did not put down the young people. This is the difference between Malcolm X, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. They supported the young people. They supported the young men and women that were doing things that were empowered. Dr. Khalid would say, if you're going to make a rap song, it makes at least one about black empowerment. Okay, you saying this one about booty shaking or this or that. So why couldn't, is it too late for them to cross that bridge, or have these elders, so-called elders, giving up on us because we're not doing what they want us to do?
I mean, for the most part, that's the natural order of things. I mean, I want everybody to understand something here. When I started doing this going on 2 decades ago, my mindset was different then. I was writing off the old folk. There's a reason why I came up with the phrase, you can't trust these old niggas. I said it decades ago. And I was letting you all know then, I'm not really trying to recruit the civil rights generation. I'm not trying to do that. I might be trying to do a number of things. Recruiting them is not it. I put all my investment into my generation and everything going forward. So the big tent thing is just like, I'm not kicking the baby boomers out. I'm just not going out of my way to recruit them because, as far as I'm concerned, you're set in your ways. We didn't get here for no reason. We're here because of your decisions. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort into trying to reform you. I'm not going to put any effort into reforming you. I will only point out when an unreformed mind shows up, but I'm not fighting to convert you. I'll talk to a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old. Let me get his head straight. I'm not going to sit up here and try to straighten out a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old. I'm writing you off. You're already written off. The only reason I'm talking to you is to show the younger folk why you stupid, but I'm not trying to convert you nor change you. So I did that years and years ago, and the results are showing. So there's a lot of folks out there, and they didn't like it then either, by the way. I'm just like, this is the natural order of things. Somebody who's old and set in their ways, they got here because of their misconceptions and their backwards thinking. And now you think you're going to argue them out of that? Even if you were, it's a waste of time. You're going to put way much more effort into one person than you could into a bunch of young people who won't take as much effort. So I wrote them off a long time ago. And we're going to have to do that as a group when it comes to old folk, backwards thinking people hood rats with 4 and 5 kids, dumb niggas sitting up here with the joint. You know, we're going to have to write off a whole bunch of people. This idea that we're going to save everybody, that is a waste of time. Worst of all, a waste of effort. We need to write off whole groups of people. Stop deluding yourself into thinking you're going to save everybody or even that you should. Yes, we should put forward effort, but that effort needs to be on the young, the new, and the impressionable. Those who are open to it, not people who came up with a bunch of stupid ideas, stupid feelings. They've been wallowing in it, mired in it now for decades. They're perfectly comfortable losing. You trying to win, but you're talking to somebody who's perfectly comfortable losing because they've been doing it for decades. So we have whole swaths of our society that they are old, they're corrupted, they're diseased, they're broken, and we need to cut the dead weight. We need to just go ahead and cut the damn dead weight. That's the strategy I've been pursuing. You've seen the results from that. And for all the rest of you, I recommend the same. Don't aggravate yourself. Even if you can, it'll be an outrageous amount of effort with not a very high amount of return. And we tend to fixate on people who are stuck in their ways and comfortable being at the bottom. Start getting together because you're trying to galvanize the masses. Damn that. Get with the few people who got their heads on straight. That's where you invest. I'll let you have the last word.
Jason, just because we try to come at them with respect and like Brother Tariq would put these elders in his documentaries and now he got to take clips of them out with this foolishness. You know, they don't want to. You see, even we show them respect. You figure that out. We peep game that they don't want to come to us at a reduced status. They want us to have nostalgia toward them. They want us to say, hey, I was here at the time. At least I was speaking better than the other people. That don't mean you were speaking proper toward us. And here's their biggest anger, that you are able to reach the young people in the way that they cannot. And they consider you, it's like an Achilles heel, like you're in their way because you won't defer to them. So thank you, brother. I like to, you did it right, man, because like I said, I love for my people, but we have to call out wrong when it's happening. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if we can get Willie James up here. Willie James tried to call in before. I guess that connection wasn't working so good down there on Blues night. Okay, Willie James, let me go ahead and get you to make sure you have your camera and microphone turned on, and whatever that is you're wearing over your face, brother, that's not going to work for me. So I don't know what you're trying to hide or conceal. Nobody else sees you. I'm the only person who sees you. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to get that resolved. If you can't get it resolved, it's going to be an early evening. I'll give you 2 seconds to get that resolved. Okay, sir. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and just drop you off tonight here. So, folks, don't call me up with head wraps and bandanas around your face and whatever. Don't play that silliness. The rest of the internet's not going to see you, as you saw even earlier tonight, but I need to see you to make sure there's not going to be trolling. So, if you try to start trolling, then you will make your public debut. If you start trolling, then you'll make your public debut. But other than that, no. The only reason is to make sure there isn't trolling. I will address anything. I will take it seriously. You saw the caller earlier tonight. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. I will address it seriously. But what we're not going to do is maybe I can sneak through trolling. People like my program because I have a filter for trolls. They like my program because they don't have to deal with some jackass somewhere who's deciding he's drunk or high and he wants to say something stupid and bust up the vibe of what we're doing. So we ain't gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. So if you call up, folks, just make sure that you are ready for that. We deal with serious things right here, and if you think it's gonna be jackass night, it's like, okay, well, you'll make your public debut. But other than that, no. Brothers and sisters from around the world, you have seen real changes occur. You've seen the national conversation change. If it weren't changing, these people would not be fighting us. If you doubt or question if it's changed, then tell me why these people are fighting us. Why are they fighting us? Why are they arguing with us? Why are they trying to preserve the old order? If the old order is still standing and strong, then why are they fighting us? Why are they arguing with us? Why are they telling us we need to stop? If somebody is inconsequential, you don't tell them that they need to stop. Hell, you don't even acknowledge their existence. They're inconsequential. If somebody's having an impact, you got to deal with that. So it's a different conversation happening here now. I'll take one more call here. Trinity, I don't know why you waited till the last second here. I'll give you 5 seconds to go ahead and get up here on Zoom. If your connection's too slow, we're going to go ahead and cut it. So Trinity, I'll give you 5 seconds here. I'll give you 3 more seconds. Trinity, if your connection's too slow, we're going to go ahead and cut that. So I don't know if you're calling in from Zimbabwe or Mars. What? So Trinity is trying to call me on Zoom, but it's taking them forever to join. So they must be calling from their Bin Laden satellite phone. Okay, Trinity, you just heard me give the speech here about make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. Okay, Trinity was on here. I don't know what Trinity thinks they're doing, but that is not the move. Trinity, I'll give you 5 seconds here, and then we're going to go ahead and cut you. Trinity, I'll give you 3 seconds here, and then we're going to go ahead and cut you. So, Trinity, make sure you have your camera turned on. Otherwise, we're going to have to go ahead and cut you. We're not going to play about it. All right, Trinity is trying to figure out this newfangled technology, so Trinity is gone. Judge us by what we do, not what we say. Judge us by what we do, not what we say. Don't let any more people come to you attempting to trade on what they say and not what they do. You're going to spend a whole lot of life with people sitting up here getting over on you because you gave them something for what they said, hoping that in good faith that they would follow up on it properly. And all we're letting folks know is that from here on in, everyone needs to show their work and get judged on what they do, not what they say. If you want me to have unity with you, you already know how to practice unity with me. If you are practicing unity with me, I'm already practicing it with you. If you know you're not really practicing unity with me, you're going to see if you can figure out some way to deceive or con job your way through it. Now you're about to have trouble. This is where we're at today. This is the way of things now. This is our culture. Our culture of resistance, our culture of innovation. Is what it has been, and it is what it will be. Because it is everything we are. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. As always, this has become a Black Channel tradition. Folks, I could do so many different things. If I just wanted to have large numbers of people, it would look different. But I got to tell you all, I've always been happy to be here. There are thousands and thousands of you here tonight. I remember back when it was dozens. I remember back when on Thanksgiving, it was dozens of people. Years later, it was dozens, then it was hundreds, and now it's thousands. And you get a hell of a lot more being here. There are 40 million black folk, but you get a hell of a whole lot more being here amongst these thousands of people who are on the same page with you than you will ever get chasing around millions of people who are not. You get more positive affirmation than you will get anywhere else. That's the reason that you are here. It is cultivated, it has grown, and people are worried because once something is cultivated and grown, the only thing it can do after that is take over. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent Black thought. We do this every weekend holidays, as you can see, some days in between. If you like tonight's program, hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button if you like tonight's program so you can join us each and every time that we're here. If you're still scared and you haven't, for whatever reason, come back here Saturday. We'll be doing it again. At least make sure you get your notification. And if you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you, my brothers and my sisters from all around the world who are of a like mind, who are showing it through what you do, not what you say. You have spent the so-called holidays. Everybody else is joining with the society. You are still in resistance of it. You know what a man or a woman believes based on what they sacrifice. And all of you who are here, you sacrificed in order to be here. You gave up something in order to be here. Defiance will cost you. Resistance will cost you. And you wanted to make a point and send a message that you are willing to pay the cost and you're willing to sacrifice. That is why we are here. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing, but especially those of you here live. Everybody else who's sitting around with a turkey wing and somebody's dressing, you know what you was doing tonight. So when you get guilty, when you listen to this playback and you sitting there hanging your head in guilt and you shame, why you always talking about that? That's because you phony. But to the riders here tonight, thank you very much. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future and the future is uncompromising.